Hey there, I'm Eternal. I'm an object show fan who's on a journey to know everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome in to Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter, we will get to it all. Now, for today's video, something interesting. It is episode 125, and I know it's been a while because of course catch-up production has been quite slow, but every multiple of 25, we have a special, the special where we're allowed to break the rules and go to the next showdown in order of historical views so that we can catch up on the old stuff that's never coming back, alright? Now, for episode 100, we didn't do this for the sake of doing one. So the last one that we did was episode 75, which was the Moss catch-up, right? And the next one down below one is this show right here that you know from the title. It is Object Madness. Now, Object Madness started over 10 years ago with its episode 1, which is one of the top dog episodes. They're having 3.5 million views, created by Brybee, or Brian Dubisi, as you know, works on TPOAD as an animator, has voice acted a couple of minor characters, and is definitely one of the heavyweights of that object show production, of that BFTOC production, right? And you know, just like a lot of those fellas, one of the things that they did was make their own object show back then. We've got 2 episodes, so we're gonna watch both of those episodes, discuss if they deserve their top dog status, how we should try to remember this in the culture, right? This show I've heard nothing about. It has a lot of views, but I've heard no talk about this show ever, me being in the OSC, but I'll be interested to watch it. There's only 2 episodes, so of course we'll discuss the 2 episodes, you know, in depth, and then maybe we'll add something or another into this episode from different things, because I'm not exactly sure how else to really go about it. We'll see when we get to it. We'll see how long my Object Madness chat is. Anyways, one of the biggest object show non-BFTOC episodes ever, Object Madness episode 1, Worthless Change, with 3.5 million views, released in none other than April 23rd of 2016. Let's see. Alright, that is episode 1 of Object Madness, Worthless Change. And man, it's always really interesting to go back in time to a show like this, because they really just don't make shows like this anymore, you know? One can debate that might be a good thing, but like, the shows with the vibe of this, you know? It's really interesting because it's a type of vibe that nowadays it's nearly 100% unachievable, right? Because it requires because it's for this show to have the specific vibe that it does, you can tell that it is playing at a very high level, right? In terms of how it looks and how it's supposed to be, right? But the thing is just that what high level was is just very different to what high level is, right? And therefore, like how these fellas got to their high level is different than how modern like animators get to high level now. So it just ends up that it looks different, right? Now, this isn't even to say, and the second thing is also philosophy, right? The philosophy is based how do I say this? The philosophy is modern, based on, you know, modern shows, right? So how II currently looks, how TPOAD and BFTOC currently look, right? Like, it's based on kind of that, right? Or, you know, like, I guess BFB as well is also, of course, the pioneer, right? Like, it's based on how the top dogs look, right? Which makes the philosophy, you know, look different than how this looks, because this looks sort of different, right? Now, this is what I like to call the classic mid-2010s animation. Right, because for some reason, right, the top class of OSC creators, right, in the mid 2010s, which is when BFTOC was doing the hiatus, right, so BFTOC never got to look like this, but like it's very, you know, kind of standardized in the limbs and mouths, right? These are the shows that form what I like to call the baseline object show form. Again, when you close your eye and think of an object show character, they look like this, right? They look like how characters look in this show, right? But, the main thing that absolutely stands out is definitely, of course, the movement, right? Because, like, again, there's more technical ways to describe it than what I'm going to do. I'm not an animator. But, like, basically, the best way that I could describe this, right, is that instead of what we do right now, which is lip syncing, back then, we did lip syncing and body syncing, right? It treats it as if movement is good just in general, right? That things should be moving all the time. So instead of just lip syncing the character speaking, they have to act out their motion, right? Which means that they're gonna freaking kick their legs up, forward, and back. They're gonna lift their arm. They're gonna bring it down. They're gonna look like a rat, bro. Right? They just move so much. Their eyes are gonna blink 70 times per sentence, and like they just move all the time, right? And it's really interesting. We saw this a little bit in some other things that we looked at. Like, I think there was a period of time where Excellent Entities, I think it was like this and stuff, right? Like, just, or even, I think, Lockdown, but, like, this was definitely a vibe that was going on back then, and as always, you always gotta point out, because it's so apparent nowadays, right? And yeah, it's just so unbelievably exaggerated that it's kind of crazy. What is the actual topic of this show? This is, in terms of how this is a show, let's actually go through the motions here. We end up going over to a house as the cold open to Object Madness, where the fellas in the tennis ball's house seem to be beefing about who's gonna get to be in a competition, because apparently they're waiting for an invitation. I don't know, they must have signed up to some show, but they're waiting for an invitation, and they end up beefing. Nichols beefing with Puff Ball, which is like a white puffball. Because Puffball is like, I'm gonna get into a show and you're not. But it's like, well, I already was in a show, right? But then the invitation does arrive to tennis ball, all right. And as the invitation arrives to tennis ball, we end up they end up going on the mail, as we end up having the like mailbox. Like, oh, by the way, what is that? I have never seen a mailbox that look like that. It's like the entire neighborhood's mailboxes, but they're like all in one place. Is that how things work? I don't think that's how things work. It's like because I have that, right? Because I'm in an apartment complex, okay? But like it's not. But you know, like this ain't a thing in just houses, right? Like, don't they have like the mailbox, like the individual thing, right? The famous one. Right, and then the postman, right? Like, I don't know. It's looking kind of different, but maybe I don't know much. But the invitation ends up getting done, and they end up apparently going over to do the show. All right, and then we end up having ourselves the intro with some very classic music, a very Roblox tycoon ass music. But look, it's iconic. All right, again, these shows are allowed to do so. It's kind of the classic little intro as well, right? From the time, it's very classic, right? This is the type of show that defines classic, right? By just kind of so it makes sense just how classic it is, but you can really you can tell, right? It does the intro, just like Kevin McLeod, I think, and then like. I don't even know. Characters just kind of moving around. There's a couple of cuts, and then boom, intro's done after 10 seconds, right? And it doesn't really sync to anything. Like, it's very, it's all very, you know? The bus arrives. Apparently, tennis ball's allowed to bring them in. And we end up going over here with this bus driver that's only apparently had 3 months of training, which, to be fair, I mean, you could probably drive a bus, by the way. So they end up making the decision. We end up going over, and then we end up moving. Now, like, you see, here's the thing. Again, you can see that it was high level. It was high level. There's a lot of individual scenes and moments in this episode that are kind of wow, right? Like with some characters turning, like that shot of the bus go, like seeing the angle views to switch to the side view, like that's an impressive shot, right? Seeing just how smoothly certain characters turn, right, which is something that we rarely see, right? A character literally turn is, and then we get to see like the side profile, like a in between profile, like it's rare stuff, and we see it quite a bit. So like it is good animation. It's just like it's incredible how much show offness there was to the animation, and I think that's definitely also one of the things that made a lot of these shows kind of definitely not happen back in the day, right? Like it kind of suffered, like they kind of ended up suffering quite a bit from overdoing it, because by needing to be so over the top and how things move, you barely get anything done. I mean, every single freaking word needs its own thing going on, right? So there's like basically no breathing room ever, right? So like every piece of animation is very high level, right? What I find interesting is that the other stuff kind of isn't. I don't know. Voice acting in this show, I do gotta admit, is really awkward feeling, and I'm not sure why. This show is a very good test, because things feel weird watching this show nowadays, but like something's going on. Like, is it just me? Like, the voice acting is a little weird. I think there's not enough emotion going on, right? Like I don't know. Like, I'm kind of listening here, but it's hold on. I don't know. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I think the level of kind of like excitedness is varying, right? And then it feels a little bit awkward, which is interesting because again, this was relatively high level VA for then, but I think nowadays there's the way that we do VA is different. So since the way that we do VA is different, we end up having a different vibe, right? And you can see that like my modern views are definitely impacted how the show is. You gotta kind of place yourself back in the time, right? You gotta place yourself back in the time frame. To be able to properly analyze it, but it's very difficult to do that, right, from like my perspective when I didn't watch shows then, right? Like I watched shows like 2018, like BB hiatus, right? Like I kind of know, right, from like that era, but the before era is like ooh-wee, but I'm getting used to it. We end up heading onto the island where Pickaxe, our host, proceeds to divide them into teams due to the time the bus came, I think. Even though these aren't necessarily... hold on, are these teams actually based on the... I think there's like a new person... Well, no, not really. They're just... No, it's not actually really based on anything. It's just based on, like, breathing. Like, I don't know. It's like... The majority of the new people are in a team, but then there's also tennis ball and the puffball and the nickel, right, which were in the other bus. So I'm not exactly sure what that even means. And then the other team had the puffball, and then this was Daisy, Dice, basketball, puffball, nickel. The other one was Penny on the other team. Sorry, this nickel, glass latte, and then a cherry. Okay, these are the characters that are going on. In terms of what do we have here with the characters, it's we're not really able to tell. Like, football is apparently the fast one. We see that Daisy is kind of is an interesting archetype, but nice team leader, right? Trying to get everybody to do the work, but not being commanding while doing it. So there could be an interesting character there, right? We see that the way that these BFDI characters are acting are not exactly to the style. Like the tennis ball one is I would say pretty accurate. I feel like the nickel one isn't too much. I feel like it's kind of nickel I think more than it's BFDI. It's difficult because again modern nickel is so different now. Nickel was even in early BFDI. A puffball I think is pretty normal. So but yeah, you kind of have some other characters. And a lot of the other characters don't really speak to be honest, no, like, they care to speak, but they only say like one line or another, because they end up having the challenge kind of be, you know, relatively not many people dependent, because we end up just having to fly on puffball and puffball respectively, and just hoping for the best until eventually, you know, some people decide to throw sticks, right? Candy Cane decides to throw sticks because they've had a great idea. They seem kind of excited, a little giddy, right? And then Cherry seems a little bit more composed. This gaming system, I don't know what this is. This like calculator gaming thing. They seem to be relatively kind of more oblivious style, right? They didn't seem to notice somebody fell off. That's kind of interesting. Then we end up then again, Daisy decides to stay down. Actually, no, they end up throwing Glass down there. Yeah, because Glass is pretty, you know, always going to do the best for the team, very committed. That's kind of nice. I'm not exactly sure how Glass won, but good job Glass on winning, I guess. So this means that football loses. Glass just kind of use the power of teleportation. All right, apparently ED, I don't know what that's supposed to be. Like an educational diacritic. I don't know, like ED, bro. Like what? But yeah, that team ended up losing. So football, game pad, tennis ball, puffball, candy cane, ED, penny disc, and tack. Yeah, not a lot of these fellas got to talk, right? They got to see tennis ball. I guess got to see candy cane. We got to see game pad. Game pad had like one line. They seemed a little bit more serious. That's the loudest motorbike I've ever heard. Then tack, I don't remember ever. No, they said one line. I think disc as well. I think everybody got a line, but yeah, it didn't. I gotta admit, not stuck into my mind too much. But to be fair, it is episode 1 in this case. But overall, yeah, interesting little show. I think for the time frame, right? If we judge this episode, right, which is of course again, it's an episode that deserves better talking about it because it's earned it for getting 3.5 million views, right? It's definitely an episode that it sits within its position as kind of a good showcase of what the time was like, right? It was hiatus or like both BFTI and then II as well, right? Not quite II was going, it was going slow, but it was going. So like it's in kind of that moment, right? And as it's kind of in that moment, people are dropping shit. I need to talk about Object Madness. Come on, but like. Like, I would definitely think that it puts it into position, right, that, like, okay, if this is how things work, there's some high-level animation. You can see, right, the workings of what modern, like, top-level animation. Dude, like, actually, we need this, we need the universe to fuck off. I'm trying to talk about Object Madness. Like, come on. This is the loudest I've ever seen. Just random the road being, dude. Like, honking motorbikes, like, they don't want me to talk about this show. They really don't. But you can see a lot of kind of like the high quality of animation that gets these people hired, right? That gets a lot of these original fellas to eventually be hired, right? Like, you can definitely, like, I personally, of course, I mean, in hindsight and everything, but I can absolutely see a modern BFTA animator in the way that I see the animators here, right? They're animated by multiple people, but like you can absolutely see that, like, the quality is high, right, in angles and stuff, right? There was no guidance was the thing, right? The lack of guidance led to preconceived notions that were wrong, like that every single word has to have its own motion within the character itself, and that's not how a character talks, right? But like the lack of guidance ended up being very difficult, and that's what probably made a lot of these, you know, like earlier shows kind of conform to super similar ideas and conform to this type of kind of, like, I guess, less creative, but to some less creative ideas, but at the same time, right, having these weird decisions, right, in VA departments and in the kind of animation departments, right? But like the quality was absolutely there. So with proper guidance like that of a modern BFDI, or like, you know, modern II, you can see the best work put out of these, right? But you could see the talent that was there. It was just difficult to guide it, right? So like that's kind of what I think here for these episodes, right? But again, I mean in terms of this, does this video by itself deserve 2.5 million views? No, not quite, but at the same time, it says a lot about the era. I think it does. It says a lot about 2016. This one. Anyways, episode 2 released way after. It released and then not long after. I think no, well, actually, no, very long after. It got like a year and a half after. It ended up getting cancelled. Object Madness Episode 2, released on July 1st of 2019, over 3 years after, was titled Retrieve to Achieve. Here we go, and hopefully less cars will bother me next time. Alright, that is episode 2 of Object Madness, which has 2 exclamation marks. We'll see if I remember to put it in the title of this very video, because that is in the title just all the time, right? So that's part of the title, so alright then. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely what I would think that optimal Object Madness would look like. Whereas you could see that 2016 Object Madness, the talent was definitely there, but certain elements were awkward, and again, I don't think the direction was quite there, right, in that 2016 episode. I think with this episode, you can see that it's much more kind of planned out. It's refined. It's very refined, right? Where like the characters are still they're still moving a lot, because like of course that's the style that it's imposed upon itself, right? But they're moving naturally, right? Like you don't see characters just start making flip-flopping, like going like the one movement that always gets me the wrong way when the character like switches feet, like does a little hop. Like who does that in a conversation? But like they're still moving a lot, but it's like just general like kind of smaller hand motions, or just kind of like the body rocking a little bit, right? So it feels natural, but it's still very expressive, which keeps it to the general style, right? So it's a refined variant of the style, right? Voice acting is, in my opinion, the biggest improvement, I think, here. Like episode 1 voice acting, it was high energy, but it didn't feel very situational, right? I feel like the way that the characters talked were pretty much exactly the same from situation to situation, and it wasn't really making too much of a difference. Here, the VAs, which I don't think actually changed that much, ended up being like the voice actors themselves. I don't think actually like changed like who they were, but like we still do see heavy improvement and also heavy additional variance as well to how the voices are, which I think makes for a good experience. So yeah, it's very optimal, while at the same time, of course, also doing the same thing that episode 1 did, which is have certain show-off angles, right? Consistently having a couple of show-off angles every couple of minutes, right? And just general, yeah, like it could do that, and it does that. Which is relatively interesting. We begin the episode with, of course, after 3 years, where Daisy and Glass proceed to have this conversation. You see, this is probably already a pretty good example. These fellas just sound different, and like they speak differently, you know, than how they were speaking before. They were speaking much more they were much more neutralized to kind of the same tone, even if it was different people doing the VA, right? But here they're more free to kind of be within the character, right, rather than getting neutralized, I would say. But this proceeds to go to the Tontat stuff where the controller, or I don't quite remember your name, but we'll call you controller, right? Or like gamepad, proceeds to apparently go over because they're doing the convention where the games are being held. Now, we don't say the convention where the games are being held. I mean, we know what the convention where the games are being held is. This is E3. This is E3, which is, of course, very hilarious in 2026. But yeah, E3 was still, you know, back in 2019 was still the big deal. It was the last year of E3 being a big deal. After 2020, it died. But nice to see the relic, as well as, of course, just general kind of making fun of companies like a Bell monitor instead of the Dell, right? From the creators of Pac-Man. I can't believe they were going to announce Pac-Man 2. But yeah, apparently the stream crashes because there's no internet, actually. So there's no internet. Well, the PC explodes because we clicked on it too many times, and there's a click limit or something. But we end up having the kind of the explosion take place, because apparently there's no internet on the island, right? Because apparently they don't have funding. The show though has zero funding. They got access to the island, but they didn't get no money, right? So the challenge has to pretty much be kind of invented on the fly based on what's around the island, rather than of course having any sets to properly work around with it. So that's kind of interesting. And of course create a little bit of additional limitation. Now this little bit of additional limitation, I feel like is something that a lot of shows back then also try to do. Right? I feel like a lot of shows kind of try to ground themselves a bit, right? And then they ended up kind of struggling when being grounded, because there's just like the amount of challenge ideas that you can do that are super varied when you have this type of limitations, right? It's a lot more difficult to come up with challenges, right? If you're limited to like, okay, there's no set that can actually be used, right? So they end up either just bailing and making, oh, we got funding from blank, or we end up doing something else, right? So like, personally, I would actually enjoy more shows that stuck to like a kind of in-universe sort of Omega restriction, because I feel like a lot of shows want to do that and then they bail on that idea once they figure out this isn't fun, right? But I personally think that I think more shows should try to be at the limitation and see. But anyways, yes, the internet's gone because they don't have funding. Our gamepad gets very sad, the game controller gets very sad about this, and then we have the intro a little bit before, which is still utilizing freaking like the stock ass music, which I actually enjoy. Oh yeah, you're called gamepad, you're not called controller, yeah. Which I actually enjoy, because again, it keeps to the philosophy. One thing that I really liked about this episode 2, is that it feels very Object Madness anyways, despite the fact that it's improved in the categories, right? It's improved in voice acts, it's improved in how it looks, right? It's improved its art style, it's improved the intro, right? It's kept to a lot of it's kept to the core, to the literal core component that makes what it is, right? That makes what it is what it is. Just kind of expanded on it. So I feel like that was one part that's heavily understood there with making this episode, with evolving it through the years, is that it kept a lot of its foundation still, instead of having to massively change and be like, what the hell was I doing, right? No, it didn't do that, which I think is really nice, but it still did things to a high level of improvement. And like this leads to just generally the show feeling like a solid experience. It got better, but you can still feel that it's a show, which is nice, because I feel like older shows that come back kind of have massive structural changes to allow them to come back. But this hadn't done that after its 3-year hiatus. So that's like the one thing that I respect the most about this episode. Anyways, ED, also known as Electric Dictionary, I think, proceeds to drop by and say their first couple of words, and then we end up having football being over competitive and pretending that, oh, I don't want to see any of you, I want to throw you away or something. And this team, since they lost, they're already starting to debate and do random bullshit, right? Then we also end up having basketball try to chat to Dice, the mega tactician, about the fact that Cherry did what they wanted instead of, and they were like, hold on, we're not going to have good teamwork if we have somebody that's just going to go do what they want, right? So we should, try to maybe see if we can get some more, everybody together a little bit more, so that we can get Cherry to follow our instructions. And that's what she's to go, no, we don't need to do that. So first off, before we actually talk about this, I would of course like to talk about the general situation, which is that we're talking about this. There is this section. This is an interesting section, because it varies from show to show, right? Like whether a show has a sort of tactical point of view, which is interesting, because I feel like there's not that many shows that end up taking the tactical approach of things, right? Of like kind of reality show-esque, being like, okay, after challenge ends, we'll see the teams kind of, some will group, some will have arguments, some will have different types of tactics, right? And we're gonna have this scene before the elimination, these scenes, right, where you get to see kind of what's going on, like inter-team shenanigans, right, or intra-team shenanigans, right, where things are kind of going on. and you get to see like kind of what strategies they're coming up with, right? This is something that a lot of publishers don't do, because despite the fact that of course BFTI and stuff was inspired for like total drama, there's actually very little of like the pure the tactical stuff in it that total drama is full of, right? Which is sort of interesting that this show does that, absolutely, because it does that while obviously functioning under the viewer system, right? Because like because there are shows nowadays that do that, but every single time nowadays a show that does that does not have viewer vote. But back then they had not invented contestant voting. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. They had invented like the contestant vote, obviously, but like, you know, a lot of the classic guard of shows definitely of course wanted viewer vote to be a part of it, you know, it's interesting, and I feel like of course if it evolved past you know, more time, I feel like this could have been a kind of unique thing with it, right? I feel like the kind of relationships that could build between like tactically here with this show, also having the viewer vote while also having the kind of silliness going on, I feel like there's definitely stuff. There's definitely things that could have happened, right? It does have a total drama-ish twist, right? They're kind of on an island. The challenges are kind of weird, but just on the island because there's not a lot of budget, right? Everybody's in a cabin, right? That's not very good. The environment's not very good, right? Like you see that like there's things going on, right? But oh well. We end up having Dice's plan though be like, yo, wait, what was the idea? Hold on. It sounds like tedium. Trying to make us all work together, in my opinion, is not an efficient strategy. An efficient strategy is one that works, not one that involves us getting along and being the bestest of friends. Dice, come on now. I thought you knew how tactics work, bruv. Brother, amigo. Like, what are we doing? Dice, do you not understand? Okay, Dice. We go and have a little bit of conversation. The idea of getting along isn't a tactic by itself. The strategy is that you get along, so that way you can do a strategy better. If the basketball 100% correct, I mean, is he over exaggerating? Because it was one thing, but like I get the concern. Basketball's here, going like, yo, Cherry is not following the plan, therefore they're gonna be a nuisance when we try to do plans. And Dice is no, a strategy that works is one that works. And it's like, well, if Cherry's not going to follow your strategy necessarily because you don't get along with them, this means that your strategy, which would work, does not work anymore. So you need a basis of a relationship to be able to lead a team. A team leader is much more about dynamics as well. Come on, bro. Leadership experience. Alright then. But anyways, the characters proceed to go over to elimination time, where the teams get firmly renamed from A and B, which definitely was a little bit of a weird moment that they didn't have any team naming sequences. But they end up being called the Talented Tax, and the Daisy team ends up being called the Dynamic Daisies. Yeah, they do get named this. Again, very classic Object Show-esque way of naming teams, of course. That we've permanently switched away from this, but like I enjoy teams named like this, to be honest. I think that they're pretty cool. They're pretty memorable, right? Like, you know, squishy cherries, squashy grapes. Like, I feel like they're some of the more memorable ways to remember team names. But you get a safety token if you're safe, which is interesting because like, what does that even mean? Like, just kind of, it's your prize, I guess, instead of it being like it's not a token as in how, you know, there are usually in objects where they're bonus. No, it's a token as in like it's just like you're safe if you get it. So alright, that's interesting. We end up having to eliminate contestant B football because they fucked up and are also kind of mean, so there's no reason to respect it, right? Like, I'm so fast, you are so I am evil and I like sports. And now I run fast. I was just don't know. I was not trying, you know, because I run super fast, and you know I don't care anyways. I was holding back, you know. I was holding back. Oh yeah, I mean, it's classic first boot material in classic object show, and in fact it is, right? Like, it's what gets out. Over 1,500 votes, which again, it's really interesting how, like, these older shows got views, because you'll notice that, they didn't get a majority of their views. Like, isn't that an interesting question? Like, somebody has the data for this, right? Like, somebody has, like, the social hit. Like, it would be really interesting. Maybe one day... maybe one day I'll try to see if I can fetch the data and make a video on this, because like it's one of the most interesting things to me is that like there were 1,500 votes. I think in like the 2 weeks or 3 weeks that the challenge was. So it's not that the episode blew up immediately, like the episode 1. So it's like, hold on, if it didn't blow up, when the hell did it get 3.5 million views? When did this happen? Like, cause it's not getting a lot of views right now. I think it's on the same, like that episode 1 is on 3.5 million views. It's the same that it had like a year ago, right? So it's not really climbing necessarily. So even though it's not climbing necessarily, we got them after the, release window. So it just kind of got them in between, like some mysterious time. Like it would be interesting, like when did object shows get their viewers, like some type of information like that. I'll maybe see. I'm just spitballing here, I'm kind of spitballing the idea. If anybody is listening to the session and wants me to make that video, let me know, okay, and I can drop it. I made like a hierarchy one, But anyways, we end up having them be turned to stone because they're apparently put into a deep sleep until the challenge is over, because they don't get to leave the island, and it's probably better than staying in the island. And then everybody ends up going, all right, fine, I don't see nothing wrong with this. And then we end up going to the challenge, which is, relatively simple. We end up taking a cast picture altogether. And then we fly away with a machine where it crashes on a tree branch or high up on a tree far away, right next to the mountain which we climbed earlier. So the challenge is to go to the tree and recover the cast picture. First team to grab the photo and return it to me wins the challenge. Now, this is an interesting situation, and the team, and we can already see there's one big piece of writing that has to kind of be worked around. It's that traveling based challenges are obviously going to just be puffball and puffball dependent, right? It just depends on how much they're willing to do things, right? So like both teams are just like, yo, and we just do what we did the other time, and then they proceed to say no because they're either tired or they're tired of their bullcrap, right? But like, there's one major loophole about this challenge that gets completely ignored, right? Is that it's one picture, which means that the team, quote unquote, has to go get it. But why? Like the entire team has to be there? No, we just need one person from the team to grab it and bring it back, right? So even though, for example, Puffball doesn't want to carry everybody over, okay, sure. Why can't Puffball just fly without anybody to the tree, grab the photo, and then fly back to the team, which would then be all together, so they could all together bring it to him and get it? Because not everybody can go get there anyways, right? Like, not like what would they need everybody to be in the branch for the count? Again, we know that's not how it works with how the winner, the tax team, right, ends up doing it. That tax team is just grabbing it, one of them will falling. The rest of them are off in the fucking cliff, right? Like they don't need to all be there, right? But for some reason they don't actually consider this, right? So even though apparently, the Daisy team has both Daisy and Dice as tacticians. Yeah, so much for that. This can't even read the adding rules that don't exist. That oh no, we have to bring everybody over to the tree. Why? Who told you to do that? Nobody told you to do that, bro. Oh, come on now. But anyways, Dice proceeds to go, hey Daisy, I feel like I offer a wider range of skills and intelligence on our team. So, alright, Daisy goes, okay, sure, go lead the team, I guess. And Dice proceeds to do that. Of course, this is also a bad idea on Dice's part. I get that Dice wants to do leadership, and they offer a wider range of leadership possibilities. But, again, first of all, Daisy won the challenge. So that leadership was working, I guess you gotta like let it fail before you can ask to take over. And then secondly, also, nobody for some reason co-leadership is not ever an idea that's brought up in these shows. It's impossible for two people to lead a team. That's just banned. Like, it's just not possible. It's not gonna work. It's gonna crumble. It's gonna become like a cookie. Which that's kind of how it's going. But but like, you see, the fact that I'm talking, however, this much more about the characters, like, it's good. Like, I think this is a solid, this is a solid thing, because it gives the characters, that degree of additional, like, kind of, like, beef to them. And again, I have just pointed out that this show is a bit more total drama, like, feeling, in a way, right, in a couple of different sectors. It doesn't overall, but I feel like you can see some DNA, or at least some, like, reality show DNA with it. And one of the main components of reality show DNA is flawed characters. No character in a reality show should be perfect goody two-shoes, right? So having a character like, Daisy, that's leadership but nice, but having Dice that's a bit more wanted to take over, Puffball, that's a bit more kind of, mean, like see, there's directly flawed characters, but they're flawed characters in different ways, in uniquer ways, right, with kind of, Gamepad being super into the hobbies, right, and considering them the biggest deal in the world, right, and having Candy Cane be team leader but omega angry, but trying to utilize that anger to the win, which is something that a lot of classic hobby shows did an idea, like, oh, hey, what if we try to use the angry character for a challenge advantage, so that way we can make an angry character that survives. I feel like that was a lot of, like the attempt to kind of get angry characters to survive. But of course, angry characters used to literally just get eliminated by breathing options. So it's like, okay, what if we get the team to utilize the angry character to their advantage, so that way the angry character gets accepted into, like, the ecosystem by the viewers, right? I feel like that was a lot of what the idea was, to try to say something like Snowball or something. But I guess it was a little bit more complicated, but like, yeah. By the way, I don't know who voices the tennis ball. I didn't check, but it's a great impression. It's a great tennis ball voice. I didn't save his episode 1. It's an amazing tennis ball voice. The other characters, like the Puffball, and the Nickel, are a bit more to be honest. They're a bit more especially the Puffball. The Puffball, it's heavily improved, the voice synthesizer, from the episode 1 for Puffball and Puffball, but they're still kind of quiet, and like, again, it really points out that, like, the BFTI one was done really well. Like, we're seeing other people attempt to get the Puffball voice synthesized for, like, back then, and even from smaller creators nowadays. It's hard, no? It's hard to do. So yeah, fair enough to them, absolutely. But yeah, overall, what was I saying? Oh yeah, like the characters being flawed and me being capable of debating them is one of the biggest moments. Yet again, like, it's good. The characters also feel like have a wide range of expressions, which also help, right? But again, have a wide range of expressions, but natural, right? Because in episode 1, everybody had a wide range of expressions, but they were all doing them all the time, because every character needed to move and fucking bounce around, because every word needed a different fucking bounce. But this causes different things. Like, for example, the fact that ED, right, is exactly the type of character that would bite their teeth, and in fact they do that, and they're the only character that has that pose, because it makes sense for them, right? Whereas it doesn't make as much sense for other people, right? So, like, this is what I mean when it's optimal, right? The characters are written better, they're more proper, they're more reality show-esque, while, keeping the show good, right? Like, it's a very enjoyable episode. I actually really like this episode. I'm not gonna lie, it's good. Definitely one of my top set of episodes. Like, it would get a high tier, because it's very, very, like, it's very optimal. Like, you can really imagine the show here. Like, if the show continued in this way, it would have been really good. Like, I don't think it would have been sustainable still, because again, it's omega polished as they found out, especially then, right? Especially as it was found out back in that era, BFB, omega polished is death. Because, like, it just gets things that take so long, and it's the reason why a lot of these other shows were just cancelled and just didn't happen, right? But, like, it's interesting to still witness how it would be. If you're curious how they ended up doing the challenge, is that they both ended up going to retreat for nearly the same time. However, Thumbtack proceeded to go over with Puffball at the last second. Which, by the way, for as much as Puffball and Puffball were like, no, I'm not carrying nobody, they ended up still carrying people anyway. It was not much to do. But Puffball eventually fell asleep in midair, fell down onto a stick with Thumbtack, and Thumbtack, I guess, somehow managed to fucking GoldenEye James Bond snatch it in the middle of the air and eventually lands down with it. So alright then, sick as fuck, bro. Yeah, proceeds to win the challenge for the team, which is the other team, which, by the way, new void. I mean, technically not new voiding icons, because we never saw what this team's voiding icons would have been, but they're differently stylized. They're also very good. I really like the cherry one. The cherry one is pretty crazy. That's a really good one. The daisy one as well is really solid. And then we end up having the credits with a song that's, by the way, absolutely fire, by the way, this one. You see what I mean? I'm giving my accurate rendition. And then we have the post credit where Cherry gets absolutely pissed at saying that you're a psychopath, right? The kind of mean character ends up calling the other fella and go, and you see, like, this would have been, like, you see how this would evolve? Like, you see how that kind of, like, okay, there's an action that makes a character not excused, and then their relationship ends up taking place, and then as you know, in the next episode, there's going to be the pre-chatter, right, between the teams, right? You kind of see how that develops, right? Maybe Cherry's going to talk about it to the other people, right? And then Glass is going to do the vice versa, and then they're going to have the little like all this stuff. The thing that's missing is a confession, and then we're proper reality show, right? Like, all of these things are happening, and I feel like this show would have developed to be pretty good. So I guess let's talk about that. Object Madness. How do I feel about Object Madness today? It's a show that were like, you can see with episode 1, again, a lot of the inner workings of how that kind of BFDI-esque, future, like, kind of, okay, I don't know exactly when all those people got into BFDI, right? I feel like some of them already were, like Niall or whatever, Zany leaves, but like, like the future fellas that would comprise like kind of the core of of modern BFDI and kind of like TPAW animation, right, is definitely, you can see their talents there already. Again, without the guidance, in a show that's a little bit more kind of what the hell, kind of basic but also weird in some aspects, where it tries to be different. And in this episode, we get to see just simply the refinement, as there's a bigger understanding about what is needed to properly lead this into making sense, right? After we found out what was the bad ideas in mid-2010s, and then we ended up forming this, which I think would have set the show on a very good track if it was reasonable, right? Which is interesting. In terms of should this show ever return, which is something that I always like to mention, as I do with kind of, when I did it for the Anko show, what the hell is it called? Brawl the Objects, sorry. Like I did for Brawl the Objects, like I've of course mentioned for Moss, like I've mentioned for Object Overload. But like this show, I feel like probably realistically shouldn't really continue, because it can't continue in like this anymore. Like, it's impossible for it to continue like this. This show set itself up on a good path right here in the way that it's currently working. But if you were to do this modern, it would just turn out different. Right, because like just the situation has changed in experience. That one is different, right? And I feel like trying to do this now would make Object Madness a very different thing than it is. Right, than like it was gonna be, and what it was gonna be is good. So I don't necessarily think that like Madness would really, like, I don't think it would benefit. I think it would change. Its soul is so tied down to the time. I feel like, whereas something like Object Overload, right, was is I think a bit more timeless, right, which in the way that it kind of operated. I feel like something like this was so kind of bound to the time, like that. Like 2016 episode was very 2016, and the 2019 episode, it was kind of very 2019 as well, right? In the way that the object show culture was around both of those time frames, right? That like getting it was very 2019 episode to how the 2016 episodes went, to how the mid 2010 shows approached 2019. Right, like 2019 was, of course, very VFB era, but like, yeah, like, it was very approaching it from that perspective, right? Like that's how shows were doing it. Yeah, I feel like it would be a different thing. So if I were to personally recommend it, it would be that like if we want to make a show, we should probably make a show here, right? Like now, a modern one, and then kind of work in a system from there if we ever wanted to write a show, right? Which I don't think is the case. I don't think we want to do that. I don't think that's what we want to do. Making another show. So I guess that's not gonna be what's gonna be happening. As a lot of, I think, these sellers have, I have definitely agreed to like, of course, like, here's the thing. These fellas, I don't, like, the history is always difficult to really pinpoint, right? Because interviews were not really, there's never been, like, a interviewer object show fella that just interviewed everybody, right? Like, there's never been an object show interviewer that's cracked the top, right? So we've not really been able to hear a lot of thought processes, but, like, I feel like nowadays a lot of these fellas, they definitely agreed that like reaching the BFTI crew was the pinnacle, and a lot of the time after having reached the pinnacle, it ended up making a lot of fellas who reached BFTI, reached II, kind of stop their shows, right? It kind of ended up stopping their shows. Like with like maybe like with notable exceptions being like Webs, right, where EE is still going, right, and I mean, like, I guess the biggest one is probably Lockdown, which is still happening, right, Wuggle show, like that one is the biggest example of show that's still going, because of course EE is going, but under its new form, right? Like under its third season form, which is relatively modern, but like out of the classics, the only one that's still ongoing is kind of that, out of the top dogs, right? Most other things that they've either been people that have quit completely, or people that have reached the pinnacle and were like, okay, I can just stay there, right? So like that's how you kind of view it from afar, right? It feels like a lot of this, of the kind of like the mid 2010 people who were mega talented just kind of got into Jack and Jellyfin and was like, okay, I'm good. Right? But is this true? I don't know. But like it does feel like that from afar. Anyways, yeah, that's Object Madness. Do I think it deserves its top dog status? I mean, I think it does, because it again, it symbolizes its time really well. It really does feel like it's time. It's a solid piece, even though it's not the most memorable. It's absolutely not the most memorable. It was a clean show, and it's a solid. And again, it's a good picture of the time. It really is. It feels so 2016. I've repeated it 50 times, and I'm really annoying. I know. If you're listening to me, you probably think I'm the most annoying person that there ever was. But like, it's true, bro. It's true. But my apologies. I yap, and by, when I'm thinking of a new sentence, I tend to say the previous one again. I do be like that, right? This is a spitballing, this is a spitballing discussion, and it's not it's not a scripted thing, as you can tell by the fact it took me 5 seconds to find out how to say the word scripted, right? Like, all these things are true, but yeah, I think it deserves it, and I mean, the hype up was still there. I mean, like, at the end of the day, over 3 years, and episode 2 still got 1.5 million views, which is nothing to scoff at. It's only one of the biggest object show episodes of all time, still, anyways, right? It's bigger than, like, nearly every one episode, which is absurd, right? Like, it's crazy. So, like, the hype was definitely there from viewers. The viewers definitely still resonated with it after years. And, yeah, overall, I would say the show is solid. It's a nice set of its time. I don't think it needs to continue, because the times have changed too much for it to ever have the chance to, I think, continue in the form that it was going to continue then. So, I think this one can just sit here, be its throne. This is what 2016 was like. This is what 2016 to 2019 progression was like. Madness. Alright. I think we can fit in some other things in this video, because, not a very long show. Let's go. Alright, now since this is a special, I don't want anything major to really take up the rest of the episode, so we're gonna just do all of the smaller catch-ups, all the smallest ones, and we're gonna pair them together and hopefully get this video to probably around 2 hours, not make it a big one, and do so, because again, it's supposed to be the special for Madness, and Madness was done in about an hour, and even then I talked for way longer than I had to, so, yeah. So we're going to start off here with some of the smallest ones, which is of course the 20-second object share, created by TDOliver in the past 2 months. It has had many episodes, in fact 3, and we are going to watch it. Last time, an anime improv dropped by, and proceeded to host, and now it's time for episode 8, which is entitled The Great 20 SOS Bake Off. Go! Okay, that's interesting because I think for the first time ever, the 20-second object show actually utilizes the tactic of speeding up, which is something that you would think it would actually use more. But no, this is the first one where it properly uses sped up audio for things like Pepperchip, for Pepperchip to give a long-winded rant without actually having it go over the 20-second limit. The animator for this time around is Eros the Animator, and Eros the Animator does a very good job here at making a maximal amount of movement because yeah, just have an absolute like frame by frame speed run in like 2 seconds of the challenge, because technically, I mean, yeah, if you check frame by frame, both Pepperchip and Red Button proceeded to do the challenge, and you can see exactly how it goes second by second, no, but frame by frame. Pepperchip makes it one ingredient ahead, whereas Red Button stalks looking at them, and then proceeds to run over and crack the Pepperchip to be able to feed it first to Clock to get it. And all this is done in the span of like about 2 seconds, which is extremely intelligent. It's effort for sure, but I mean, I do gotta commend getting that amount of information done in 20 seconds. Very, very good job. Episode 9A is entitled End of an Era. Oh, I want to cut off. I think Pepperchip is gonna win the show. Okay, End of an Era. You know, I do think Red Button just has power over the universe. They say wait, and an entire new episode gets formed because there's apparently a 9B. So, alright then. But yeah, Pepperchip wins the 20-second object show. I mean, yeah, I feel like Pepperchip was like the heavyweight of the tournament from second one. I swear I said this, but Pepperchip is just like the fella, right? Even though Pepperchip is all like, I don't got aura. No, you do got aura. You think you got less aura than Doorknob and Upside Down Cake? Come on now. But yeah, good job Pepperchip on winning. Absolute deserved winner. Did good in challenges. Is one of the most creative designs out of this cast. That overall, in terms of design creativity, didn't have too much of it. And overall, yep, did good and was relatively entertaining to watch. Had some entertaining ways of doing challenges. So good job, Pepperchip. But I guess we gotta hear what Red Button has to say in episode 9B, which is entitled Na 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 Bobo. And there we go. Red Button goes, that's not fair. I didn't know I'd be winning steak. I would have tried to win steak. I would have tried harder. I mean, to be fair, you did, in terms of doing stuff, you did about as much stuff as you could possibly do. And you tried pretty hard. I mean, you murdered Pepperchip in the last challenge to make a sandwich. And you got about as far as you could get. You can't try harder to win vote. What do you mean? You're gonna, were you gonna rig the vote? We're gonna start campaigning. We're gonna go to Pennsylvania. Go like, I want to win 20-second object show. I need a steak. Like, there wasn't much else to do. But anyway, they proceed to have a battle. There's basically some claps. Basically, right? But imagine that will be fancy. But remember, Pepperchip won a 20v1. This is true. They said that one time with the sandwich episode I make as well. And they managed, and if they can win a 20v1, they win a 1v1. So good job with the Pepperchip. Even more proving themselves in a battle to the death against Red Button. I'm telling you, Pepperchip not only wins the vote, wins the physicality, wins the challenge ideas, is the most creative, is the most physical, is the most fan favorite, is the most everything. Pepperchip winning this season is the biggest heavyweight that any season of 20-second object show ever. And you know, I'm a good source of information. I was in it. So yeah, more 20-second object show might come in future seasons. We'll see how that's gonna go. Again, when it comes to 20-second object show, it's always going to be interesting to see kind of, you know, how we try to evolve this, because the thing about 20-second object show is that we currently don't have, or at least, you know, currently TDOliver doesn't have a flagship series that subsidizes it together with 20-second object show. So this is the current, like, other than regular object show, which, I mean, isn't dead. I still am highly doubting this information. But like, it's very much so kind of the main place where the creative endeavor is put in. It's always kind of interesting. Like, okay, will 20 Technically Obvious Show like be creatively fulfilling enough for another season? Will it have a new gimmick? Will it be different? I have no idea what's actually going to go on with 20 Technically Obvious Show or what TDOliver is going to do next in the Obvious Show journey. But it'll be interesting to see when, when TDOliver is going to consider just making 20 Technically Obvious Show stale, right? I mean, we've already delayed animating and a lot of voice acting to other fellas, right? So it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious. But whatever it is, I will be watching it. Next thing. Next up, we're going to go over to the WhackyStuff channel because a pretty fast episode 4 release of BFTOC. As a reminder for what happened last time, it was 9.11 and as that was happening, it was a classic episode, so it's kind of messy, random shenanigans. The character gets out because yes, a random challenge that doesn't really make a lot of sense happens because yes, and then people apparently are going over to good looking land on the side after getting eliminated, where apparently something will happen after this show. But BFTOC 4 is entitled Yay, Final 2. Go! So actually pretty tame episode as far as BFTOC is concerned, but yeah, apparently it was the 1 year anniversary ever since BFTOC 1, which is true. It's been over a year to BFTOC 1, which definitely points out how sporadic this is as a thing that's happening. I don't know who, because this is like a collab channel, I don't actually know who exactly is the one in charge of the construction of the episodes, but whoever is, they're definitely taking their sweet time. We end up having to miss the anniversary. We end up doing a little bit of a meme. Just Custom ends up being eliminated with 2 votes compared to Dead's 1. So Dead Guy proceeds to remain in the show. And Just Custom proceeds to get sent away to more. Any last words? What the hell did you say to me, sonny boy? And then we draw by with the new asset into Good Looking Land, where we proceed to talk to the other fella. We get to see the Just Custom asset, like the first time somebody has tried to actually give it a design that's not just staying in the profile picture, because I'm thinking even, stuff like Stillwater, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I do actually like how the assets on this look a lot. I may be a little bit critical of the sync a little bit, as I think the kind of slowness of the movement makes certain things kind of look a little bit weird, like when Kazu kind of leaned in, right? Like, it's so slow to lean back out, it doesn't have the punch that it probably should have, so maybe try to speed up when things happen in that section for, of course, when a show's actually happening over there. But other than that, I don't really have many comments. Who's gonna win the show? Wait, what's this fella's name? Wait, hold on. Cliff Schuyler, which is one of the antenna people, or Dead. Now, I do gotta be honest, while Cliff Schuyler is obviously the more logical choice, Dead should have been eliminated. If Dead is here on a vote to win, it's funny, bro. So we gotta vote for Dead, right? We gotta vote for Dead. My prediction is Dead's gonna win, because it was funny, They didn't get out before, so that doesn't mean, so it's too late, right? It's too late. At this point, they gotta win then, alright? Yep, there we go. Win. You can do it. Alright, GG's. I guess we'll see you on the finale, probably, unless there's 0.5 shenanigans, which is with this show that tends to do. We will see who's going to be the champion of BFTOC in an unknown amount of months. But for the meantime, I guess we'll see what's incoming later. For now, next thing. Next up, we are going over to 78 Card, which has rebranded their channel, which some of them is often 2 card shows, and they've been doing a lot of series, a lot of BFDI series. I don't count for the purpose of this because I don't take a look at BFDI fan series as something here, right, in the show. Maybe one day I will, but as of right now, it's not the plan. Still, I'm still not really interested in covering that. But we are going over to watch POAD, which I don't think is one. POAD 1 is entitled "Open That Door." Go. Alright, and a very mysterious show, this one, I gotta admit. There's like, we're in the middle of a void, the characters were just kind of chatting. Apparently Doorknob got immunity, they're telling a story time of how they got immunity sometime for something. And then randomly they do a competition with this thing, well, I don't even know what it is. It's a friggin' rectangle. And these 5 people, which, do I know what objects these are? I think one of these is wood, despite the fact that they look like paper. Then we have like a frame, we have like a doorknob, we have a lock, and then we have like a glass thing, like, you know, like a lens, right? I think that's what it's called. And then like a lens, and they're challenging to open a door, which is the only thing in the flipping environment, which is interesting. Every scene is animated by a different animator. This is something I point out pretty often with the card shows, but the variance in how the scenes actually look and how the characters move from animator to animator is a degree of exaggerated that I think is probably too high. Like, I would try to get the animators that are a little bit more, at least conforming to a style guide, right? Like, even how the eyes of the host look, like, they can't, like, nobody can decide. Like, nobody can decide. They look different every time. So, again, I try to just make bigger style guides, but, either way, interesting. What's going on? I don't know. Our host seems to apparently at the end snap somebody into existence. I don't really know who that is. That looks like a freaking shield, like a broken up shield. And they don't seem happy to be there. So things are happening. I don't know. Locke ends up winning the challenge about opening the door because of course they do. And yeah, who's getting eliminated? No idea, bro. But let's say the lens is gonna get eliminated because, oh, they didn't care or something. I don't know. It's a mysterious. It's a very mysterious one, I gotta admit. This show, but overall, I mean, I guess we just gotta know about it. I mean, we don't even know what it means. What is POAD? Like, I don't think that, like, no, we don't know what what those words even mean. Like, it's called POAD. Do we know what I mean? Nope. But it's called POAD. All right. So. Okay. And yeah, and then you're battling to be known where, to be known what, you know, like it's just setting a location without doing any type of information on what is going on. So I mean, all right then, I guess you know, my discussion is postponed to when the show explains anything about itself, because it's so far not. See you in the next section. Alright, next up, we are going over to the Mr. Sandwich Doodle channel, or this channel is also one that changes names relatively often, but that's the current name. And Object Joke through the past week has managed to pop in 2 quick episodes of Object Joke, yes. As a reminder for what happened in Object Joke 1, we ended up having the challenge being to go shopping. Like, one character proceeds to immediately do a lot of shopping and then proceeds to win, and then no other character gets to talk or really be seen. So we don't really know much about the cast yet, but let's see in episode 2, who's entitled "Who Are These Peeps?" Go. So, it's January 28th, and apparently in BFNM 15, we'll pretend like we know what that is, Walmart proceeds to go back through the portal to their own land because they got bored, I don't know. They fetch out freaking a dictionary, who's of course the champion of Elspin Rauspiages. Ooh, I gotta say it one more time, let's go. And we I ended up having them interrupt stop sign pretty heavily and be like, hello, I'm gonna host my show. Wait, stop sign goes, well, your show ended. It's like, well, who hosted? I don't know. And it's like, no, okay, then I'll host your show. Stop sign tries to stop them, but nope, they're not that good because Walmart is way too strong. Printer gets eliminated. Walmart does a murder because they're Walmart. And then the challenge is to eat a cookie, and they eat a cookie. Yet again, we have about zero real true knowledge about what any of these characters are doing. I get it. In episode 1, we did a meet the cast, but it wasn't a meet the cast. It was a slideshow with music in the background, you know. Like I don't even get to know the cast much still. It's kind of debatable, I guess. Where like the thing that happens right here is that like a lot of the time the host has a lot more screen time than the contestants, but we vote on the contestants, not on the host. But it's easier to build up a story for the host, but then the contestants are left pretty much in the dark. Like, these contestants might as well just be like letters and just pick which letter is your favorite, right? It's kind of difficult with this type of object fooligan show, right? But all right, then that's kind of interesting. Oh well, let's go to episode 3, which is entitled Catchup. Well, I mean, that's is there literally anything to say? That is the there's nothing happens in this episode. I mean, technically it goes through the motions of an object fooligan show, but like that's it. It really it doesn't do anything. It in fact actively does stuff because you know the continuity of, oh hey, Walmart's back and is fighting with stop sign to host the show. No, Walmart dipped. Where the fuck is Walmart? I thought Walmart was. I know I'm hosting the show now. As okay, no, or did they literally just host the elimination, and then they dipped? I mean, and even if that happened, I'd prefer to see it happen. This is nothing. The only thing that and even then, there's literally not even a gag. There's 2 gags in this episode. There's the gag of cake at steak being removing the letter, so it's KSD. And then there's the second gag. It's hard to believe he's vegan. I guess I think the orange snail. Right, it's hard to believe the orange snail is vegan. But alright, and then challenge to lick an iceberg. Rubber spatula manages to lick an iceberg, and then there we go, and then that's it. So yeah, we're still not discovering anything about the cast. The cast is still not even spoken. What I don't know, clue Walmart went. This is very like. I don't know. There's nothing here. Like it's actively removed the continuity that the show was building up. It's doing it's the minimum viable product, which in this case isn't very good, right? I do gotta admit, right? Like at least Object Joke 1 tried to put them in an environment, right, and have the character that complete the challenge actually talk to us, or actually see them doing it, right, and have a little bit of challenge thing going on. In episode 2, there was some story within the host, right, and that kind of thing going on. But here, just nothing happened. Just straight up, nothing interesting happened. There's one gag about being vegans. There was one line. That's interesting. That's it. And it's like, okay, all right then, cool. My recommendation is just do literally anything. This is the least possible thing you can do while having an episode. Like just do something. And we can have more. The show's called Object Joke, and it's not got jokes in it. Like, come on. It's got jokes. It's in it. Puts the blocky BFTOC at the end. Whatever. Anyways, I think it should write more stuff into the show. That's my feeling. Because it's not like this show does fluid movement, so it's just one more frame, right? Like, surely it can't take that long, right? Surely we can afford to do this. So that's what I recommend. Just do something, bro. But anyways. That is that. I guess I'll be awaiting for more Object Joke episodes in the future. But for the meantime, we'll go to the next thing. Alright, next up we're going to go over to the Magic 8 channel because about a month ago there was one episode of Object Also Passtime that released and that would be episode 5A, released about 3 weeks ago. As a matter of what happened last time, Snakes in a Can proceeded to invade the show and just Hearts hosting it now. And then we proceed to do a debut. I've always really enjoyed how Magic 8 debuts go. There's theoretically a lot of possible buys because a lot of the fellas from the cancelled Benjamin show are here in this debut. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. But episode 5A is entitled Mystery Meat Joins the Game. Is this true? Probably not. Let's go. Alright, that is Object also Passtime 5A, so not a lot happens in this one, but it's still enjoyable actually, because, I don't know, there's something about it, like, the way that kind of Magic 8 writes the Object full style show is a little bit different to how kind of a lot of other people go about it, because I think we don't set ourselves a strict writing limitation, you know, a lot of the time we look at the Object full style show, and we go, we need to do host intro challenge that takes 15 seconds finish. Okay, and then it's like, well, okay, but who that's not interest. You know? Well, I know, like, but like here, while we're still doing things quickly, right? It's not afraid to write a gag, right? It's not afraid to write a joke in the middle. You know, it's not afraid to write a character speaking, to write a conversation, to write what I can describe as a plot. OMG! Like, it's something that, you know, from having seen a bunch of them, it's definitely a nice to have. So overall, I mean, it's 2 minutes of kind of mostly just conversation. And like bits here and there. I'm a big fan of the intro appearing twice and then getting stopped over with Ted in it, because Ted won the debut. This is true, apparently. So good job, Ted, on winning the debut. I guess you were relevant back when the debut time was. Kind of Snakes is no longer 3 snakes, which I don't know what happened to the other snakes. I guess they got murdered, but they have hands now, which makes them a freak of nature. So that's interesting. Well, I guess RIP to the other snakes. It is over for you. But the challenge ends up being to apparently go all the way over to the grasslands, which is theoretically a challenge that would take a while, right? So that's going to be interesting, even though, I mean, to be honest, the speaker, I mean, only one person tends to win these challenges, right? So theoretically, I mean, can't the speaker boss just fly over there in 3 seconds and then win the challenge immediately? Is that not part of the, is that not one of the lists of things that could happen? I feel like that's one of the things that would happen in this scenario. But, yeah, I'm also a big fan of just the opening gag of the, like, high contrast shot, the kind of, like, animated Battleforsupreme shot, and then they just kind of, can you start a debut, please? Yes! And then there's just silence for a little bit. I enjoy it. It's simple but chill, you know. It's kind of chill. I like turning Object Passtime into this, right? Just to kind of give it a little bit more substance, right? A little bit more meat than what like you would generally think the concept would entail, you know, which I enjoy. But overall, by the way, welcome back, Magic 8, of course, who, you know, from making an episode like every 3 days, ended up stopping for like multiple months. The job is also still, you know, hasn't done anything for a while. So burnout definitely hit, but you know, things do happen. We'll see if Magic 8 comes back to the fruitful days someday. I guess we'll find out in due time. But for now, that is everything that Magic 8 has dropped onto us, and it's time to drop onto the next section. Alright, next up, we're going over to the Party Hat channel, because not very long ago at all, actually, like 5 days ago, but because of the way that I am covering stuff here, we'll take a look at it already. We're going to the Party Hat channel, because there's a new episode of BFM, or Battle for McDonald, because it has dropped. Last time, we rewrote BFB29, that's the best way to describe it, and this time, the episode is entitled Boulder Dash. This time it's all caps. It is 2 minutes long, and therefore, it is 2 minutes that I will watch and then talk about. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 5 of BFM, and you know, this is alright. There's definitely things to correct, but like, this is what I meant when I was saying in Sinister Showdown. But for right now, I think that we should try to get an absolute basic down, and this is quite close to that. It's quite basic, right, in the ways that it works, but it means I can understand it, right? Like, I get it, right? Which is always the problem, that, you know, I didn't understand the challenges or the way that they looked. But overall, this is relatively simple. Do an elimination, we end up having one fella be safe. There's a three-way tie. We end up doing a wheel spin that, to be fair, looks pretty clean. Oh yeah, the beginning thread says that, oh, look, come on, go start the elimination. Okay, but who lost? And then they have to say, oh shit, it was us. Maybe I shouldn't have actually reminded you. But alright, and then we end up having our intro, and then we end up having the challenge, which is to not get crushed by a cannonball. We proceed to go over that. Hart tries to scare the cannonball away, be like, oh, cannonball, you are bad. And everybody gets crushed by a cannonball. There we go. You see, I get it. I understood. Me understanding, right? The main thing that I do, oh yeah, and then at the end, right, the eliminate contestant get eaten by our McDonald fella, and they all drop down to this weird intestine where something's gonna happen. You see, like, I get it, right? We're introducing plot elements, but we're introducing them in a chill and understandable way. The one thing that's, however, a big detriment to this episode specifically, which is annoying because it doesn't actually impact a lot of other episodes, is the audio on this is really bad. I do gotta be honest. When listening to this on headphones, it's rough. It's 90% on. It's like 80% on the right ear, which it makes it very, like, kind of bothersome to listen to, and the music is way too loud, especially heading into the second half, and it drowns out a bit of the voices about what's being heard. The voice loudness itself is relatively solid, but the music is way too high, right? Again, my main recommendation is that, like, when you're adding the episode, I know you're adding music, this is good, you want to add music, however, you have to add the music and you have to lower the volume of it. You can't just drag the file into the editing and you good. No, it's going to be too loud, and therefore it's going to drown out the voices. You have to drag it in and lower the music, right? You have to lower the volume of the music and make sure yours is a solid amount higher. You know, personally, I go for minus 20 decibels probably with music, but, like, it depends on the music as well. You kind of got to check a little bit, you know, like, see how difficult it is to hear the voices. I get that you're on the speaker, probably you're on phone speaker most likely, but, like, you know, you can still notice, you can tell, right, when the music's really loud, I think, on a phone speaker, right? So, yeah, absolutely, just focus on lowering down the music. If you can get the audio to be a little bit more mono, to be a little bit more like a stereo in terms of being even on both ears, I think that'd be solid. But in terms of the actual episode itself and how it happens and how it looks and how it goes, I have no criticisms. This is, in my opinion, what we gotta do. I think you gotta do this type of simple thing, you know, introduce some plot elements slowly, and then we're gonna have a show that's understandable and that's solid, because that's always been the complication. The complication has been clarity, and we are, in a little bit of a way, made a relatively clear episode here. Like, alright, let's go. And it has a relatively original concept, you know, it's not just taking a different episode, right? Like, it's alright, we got something. Anyways, that's all for this. It's time for the next thing in the agenda. Next up, about 2 months ago, QuackerStacker dropped 2 back-to-back episodes of something. I don't really know what it is at all, but it, I think, counts as an object show. It is entitled Gehenna, Gehenna. Let's say Gehenna for now, unless the show corrects me. There are 2 episodes. One is 30 seconds, the other is 1 minute. I guess here we go. I have no expectations. Let's go. Gehenna 1. Okay, there is a mystery. Let's see. So, our fella here, or Spork, proceeds to seemingly wake up in a gigantic white void where there's nothing in any direction. They look at it sort of shakingly. They say hello, and nothing really happens. We get some text later that says, "Welcome to the rest of your life," as our fella here, our protagonist, is not looking too happy about this observation. Now, of course, the main question is why, how, when, what, you know, the 5 W's. When, how, why, what, right? Like all of these questions we don't know the answer to, we're gonna need to discover. Of course, the one thing that I do like to point out is, I mean, this feels like definitely a sound that is being played. I don't know if this is just the sound of wind, but really loud, but it does definitely share a lot of the same sound as water, as if there was like a waterfall. So like there could be something here, but I don't think it's supposed to. So I don't know. This is I'm definitely intrigued. Let's go check out Gehenna 2, and then we'll make a broader sort of speculation. Gehenna 2. Here we go. Okay, well, we get more information, I guess. We have ourselves a little bit of a monologue of, I guess, Spork's family, saying, like, what they want to be when they grow up. One of them wants to be a firefighter, one of them wants to be a doctor, and Spork doesn't know. They don't know. Then we cut to them walking around the void, I guess. This is really loud wind. This is the wind is not this loud. Something's up. I'm telling you, bro, something's up. Like, there is a sound coming from somewhere. Right, or it's like mega windy, because like there's no way like the wind is this loud. But eventually, they snap out of searching and they actually find something. There is one blue fucking pixel on the screen. One pixel. And it is there. And we don't actually see our Spork fella walk towards it, but they do look at it. Kind of interesting. It's blue. I am still believing waterfall theory then. You know, or like river, I don't know, something. I feel like there's water. There's water going on. The text at the end this time says, "Is this somewhere you're willing to be?" I mean, you didn't. No, no, not really. No, not really. But you said it was the rest of my life. No, you said it was the rest of the life. You know, it seems like we're forced to be here. So, is this somewhere you're willing to be? No, but we gotta, right? Like, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. That's kind of interesting. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, disappointingly, there's kind of not much to say, right? It does, I guess, bring up the kind of interesting scenario of this kind of sort of one, not necessarily one-esque show. I mean, it does. I mean, the character, the limb design does definitely, in some capacity, resemble one, but like, there's in like, you know, the sort of mysterious story type, it does suffer a little bit for probably not giving enough exposition immediately, right? Like, I get that it's trying to be mysterious and stuff, and like maybe it would be mega rewarding for the payoff to happen. However, like, even though it would be mega rewarding for the payoff to happen, you do need at some point to give information to people. That way, they actually have something to stick around for, right? Because, like, if you don't, it's going to be complicated. And especially if you don't and you're releasing episodes like this, right? Where we end up having kind of like, you know, months without knowing what's going on, right? Like, I would probably make, like, I don't know how I would approach this concept. It's a tough concept, right? But I would maybe like release them in a bunch, or like compile a couple of episodes to one bigger one, right? Because like something that like at the end of the day keeps the formula, but probably needs something to kind of let people sort of observe the story in one aspect, rather than needing to wait months between episodes, because otherwise I don't think this is gonna work like that, right? Which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested, but will it happen? I don't know. We'll see if there's more Gehenna on the way, but I am concerned about its prospects. But overall, it's interesting to see this type of approach taken from time to time. There's definitely a river somewhere, and yeah, let's see some more. Come on, make it happen. Next up, we are going over to the obledoesstuff channel, because about 3 weeks ago, the 4th episode of the Cheesy Object Show, again, the 2nd season of the Cheesy Object Show, took place. as of last time, we ended up having a long jump challenge where everybody proceeds to do different methods of long jumping. However, we ended up having a doorknob win after they just fucking like blitz it past, like nobody got close. All right, but overall it was pretty enjoyable. But episode 4 is entitled 5 Rocks in a Hard Place. Go. Bruh, okay, hello, that is TCOSA 4. And okay, that's cool. I like that concept. You know, I was ready to criticize, right? Be like, okay, more debut, come on now. But we've actually done something creative, I know, right? That's crazy. But let's you know, like it shows that I only have 2 minutes per episode don't tend to be the most creative. But yeah, I enjoy this. I think the writing, especially of challenges in this, is also relatively entertaining because we actually get to see the challenges getting done, you know. It's something that I've always complimented, you know. As I remember in the long jump challenge, I complimented it because we get to see every character doing the long jump. We don't just see the character that does it the longest and then they win, right? Like we see the progression of the challenge beyond the challenge. It happens quickly, but it happens, right? And I enjoy at least seeing it, right? It's more entertaining. The challenge here is to retrieve all the pet rocks. Bob, Bob 2, Bob 3, and Justin. They proceed to do that to various degrees of success, and by that I mean actually not really. Everybody finds it pretty easily. It's almost like there's nowhere for the rocks to hide because it is a gigantic green void, but at least I like how it is indeed easy. Clownhorn manages to get it first. Smiwey desperately tries to find something and does not manage until they still see a rock on the ground, and they eventually give it to Grow Cheese and be like, oh my god, Matt! I forgot Matt. So everyone ended up bringing a rock, which means that nobody got eliminated. So then how will somebody get eliminated? Well, but through a trade. It's really interesting. By voting a debutante, you vote to eliminate somebody, right? So Dumbbell. So, like, if you vote for Dumbbell, you're eliminating Flying. If you vote for Soapbar, you're eliminating Sci-Fi. If you're voting for the Underground Demon, you're eliminating Squared. Right? Which is really interesting. It makes a kind of like a half and half dynamic that's like kind of really interesting. There's only one thing. There's one thing I really wish would have happened. Right? And that didn't happen. Is that, like, of course, in a debut screen, right, the debutante is attempting to convince you to vote for them, right? So, like, wouldn't it have been hilarious to have the character who's paired up with them have to convince you actively to not, like, they try to actively, like, not to do something to convince you to not vote for the debutante, right? Like a Clownhorn being like, what cereal is bad? The freaking apple's better. I don't know. So those like, that would have been hilarious, and I wish it happened. But other than that, it's a cool concept. I mean, like, I don't know. In terms of the characters itself, I mean, flying realistically for the health of the show probably has to go. They're way too OP because they're flying, right? So, and, you know, maybe and Dumbbell has the opportunity to do some gags, right? Like, that feels like the type of character who's like, ooh, I'm so strong, I'm so powerful, and then when they have to lift over a grain of sand, they're not able to, right? So, I do enjoy the character that be coming in. I do think that we probably need to we need to even out the playing field a little bit, and this is going to be probably one of the few chances to even out the playing field. So, I'm going to say that I hope that what I would choose is voting for Dumbbell and therefore eliminating Flying. But let's see what happens. What my prediction is okay. I don't really have one. I'm gonna be mega honest. So let's say that let's just say that I'm gonna go with that, and let's hope it's correct. You know, maybe Alarm is gonna win. Like, that would be my maybe prediction, but I'm gonna go with Dumbbell. Let's see. Let's see if Dumbbell's gonna join in the next episode. Very creative idea. I actually like that one a lot. It instructs you to think about the elimination and the debut in a little bit of a different way, right? You have to do a compromise in some degree, right? Which I think is really interesting. And makes you that you can't really vote for the best of either, right? Which I think it's interesting. I like that. I like that quite a bit. So I'm good stuff. We're still inventing new elimination ways in 2026. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, enjoyable. and creative. Nice. Next. Next up, we are going over to the It's a Name channel because 3 episodes of our series of First Boot have in fact released. Now, to what was actually going on last time? It's been over 3 months since I last watched it. We ended up having some fellas attempting to dig away. They end up kind of finding the challenge, I guess, and some things are happening. Let's see if I can kind of more properly remember as time passes. I'm sorry. The 8th season is up next. Let's go. Alright, that is the 8th season. Now, again, just like with the Nick shows, unfortunately, the catch-up system of watching shows is terrible for this type of show, because I don't remember enough of the little details, but, I will admit that it's cool. It's just kind of cool. This Muddy character, I like this one. They kind of like speak in thought, you know, and I think other people can hear them, I guess, but we don't technically know, but we're like hearing their thoughts, which is really interesting. And they're definitely very talkative, but also kind of chill, which is interesting. The recovery center isn't really recovering, of course, the dead people, but this different character, which I think is recommended characters of the character. They're like a shape-shifting recommended character thing that turned into a recovery center and then ran away as the shapeshifter's true identity, which is like, what? Wait, the recommended characters is just characters? Like one character which is recommended characters? What? Like, like, do you see how that's just cool? And Muddy's cool. Also, somebody randomly just threw Muddy into like the nearby building, I guess. I mean, I don't really know what's going on in the nearby building, but there's a television, and Muddy's just like, okay, I guess I'm here now. And then they proceed to watch their show, which is on the 8th season. All right, then. Anyways, how epic Luigis are up for elimination. I guess we gotta rate them. And I mean, good luck to them, of course. But yeah, like, you know, there's just a lot of concepts in the show that are generally cool in terms of the general lore and progression of how the show's actually going within, which you can figure out from watching the episodes. I unfortunately do not have the capability to really know under how I do catch-up recordings, but it's cool. I most likely, I trust this show, to be honest. The 9th episode is entitled The Ninth Life. Go. Alright, that is The Ninth Life, and yet again, it's just interesting, right? It sparks that kind of, you know, there's, I think a lot of people secretly, right, there's certain things, right, where, like, being nosy is kind of fun, and I feel like this show gives that kind of that opportunity, right, where, like, you don't have a show to see, but you get to see kind of the sort of outer core of it, right, with like the eliminated contestants, and now that the eliminated contestants, because of a thing, are kind of blending in with the regular contestants, we get to kind of hear a little bit more about, you know, what was going on, you know, you get to see a little bit more of what Acid was up to, you know, like you get to hear it a little bit more, like you get to see a couple of more, you know, distinct things and stuff, and I think that causes for some cool interactions and stuff, right? Which I think is relatively enjoyable. But anyways, they gotta get to the challenge, and they do that, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, the other fellas are trying to eat food. I don't think they're doing this successfully. So I guess good luck to them. But by the way, shout out to Dude. Gotta be the most composed guy I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've ever heard a guy that's more composed in my life, to be honest. I mean, that guy was just spitting straight facts. Like the bro didn't even hesitate, didn't even do nothing. Like I mean, maybe humans are just that much more intelligent than objects, but I mean, this dude right here, He's a good dude. He's a dude that knows what he's talking about. He probably deserves to win the show. I mean, considering the other options that are currently in it and what they're doing to the spaghetti, I feel like it's probably for the best that dude wins the show. Anyway, some random shenanigans are going on in this room, so I think it's best that I move on to the next thing, which is entitled The 10th Adventure. So let's go and do that, and then we'll do, you know, a bit of a bigger synopsis of what's currently going on. Alright, and that is the 10th adventure. Again, I've not much to say. There's a couple of interesting things that happen. Of course, I really enjoy how we, again, get to kind of find out character by character as time passes, like what's going on, right? So we get to slowly see their personalities in like little segments, and then again hearing how they talk with this kind of additional context that you would be having many episodes in, despite the fact that, you know, it's not like we don't know, right? But there's no voting screen. There's no voting screen in this episode. That's absolutely the main thing about this episode for sure. That stands out, and I mean, I don't know what that means. Apparently some fellas are in the forest. There's pretty much no characters left, to be honest. Like, a vote to win. No, I think there's another team that has, like, I think 2 people. How many people are in the show? Like 4 probably, right? Because there's like 3 there's like 1 on this team. I think the other team would have 2. So I think there's 3 people maybe in the show, I think, possibly. I'm not sure, actually. It could be like, dude, it'd be the cactus, it would be the walkie-talkie, right? So it would be like that, right? I think, probably. Like, it would be like that amount of people. But, yeah, some fellas are going into the forest. I don't know who is talking to. It's probably the other side of the walkie-talkie, right? So maybe Walkie's in the forest and Talkie's there. Maybe they're trying to escape to do something, but the host apparently wants to bring them back. So maybe something's going on with that. I don't know, right? Like, you see, it's kind of like I have when you're giving it this super cursory glance, right? Like, I pick up random elements, right? But they need to be connected. There's dots here, right? Like I'm drawing dots, but I'm not drawing the interconnecting lines because I can't do that without paying additional attention, right? And again, unfortunately, I do not have the additional attention I can give it, and I'd like to reiterate this all the time, just like how I do with Nick the Snake, just like how I did with the other show, I guess, that we watched. It was Object Pool or whatever, which I think maybe Magic, right? Like all these things. Like, yeah, I get it. However, like I get the vision, and I see how it's cool by paying more additional attention, with pausing and rewatching, right? But I can't do that here. I hope that, you know, somebody like Mikey or somebody else makes a more in-depth, right, like, observation of this show, because it deserves it, of Nate, because it deserves it, right? Especially Mikey, who rewatches stuff and, like, does better, like, coverage with scripted stuff, right? It fits this show much more, right? Because it's a show that demands a secondary layer of attention, because things just happen too fast. Not gonna tell things to your face, right? Which makes it cool, but look, even from my perspective of kind of like, you know, not really knowing the ins and outs of how the competition is actually going, despite the fact that it's giving the crumbs, right? I'm not being able to form the cookie with the crumbs, but the crumbs taste pretty good anyways, right? Like, the characters, they all look, a lot of them look relatively fun. Again, I really like Muddy. From at least this set of episodes that we watched, but again, a character like Dude is pretty cool. I like how Acid was looking to kind of like, oh, I've learned the error of my ways, and then we found out just how much bullshit Acid was doing, right? And then the trampoline, the walking, the talking, like you hear, like all of these things. There's cool elements. It's cool characters. The art style is cool. I like how the episodes are there. Maybe they should low-key have done the Nate the Snake thing of being all the same exact lambda, because that's one of the coolest elements about it, to be honest. But like, other than that, it's cool. It's cool. I enjoy this quite a bit. Personally, I enjoy the characters, I enjoy how it looks, and I enjoy the fact that there's a bigger story here. You know, it gets me to wonder. It gets me to wonder, and that's one of the best things that you know, an object show can do. It's get you to wonder about how its universe works and how its universe is playing. This does that, and if I pay more attention, I can earn that as well, right? Which is nice. Like, I don't just have to think. Like, it gives you wonder in the first watch through, but if you pay attention, you'll get the details as well, which is really nice. So yeah, this is cool. Keep it up. But for the meanwhile, that will be everything. Next thing. Alright, it's a new day and we are gonna keep moving because we're going to take a look at episode 3 of ARTOS, which released like over a month ago. And now, if you don't remember, ARTOS is I think another really tough object show because it's the second season of the most tough object show. And yeah, as a reminder for what happened last time, I think there was no poll, so we ended up spinning a wheel, we eliminated Mustard, and then the challenge was pretty easy. It was to press a button. Now Mango does manage to do that. It causes an explosion that murders them all. However, they did press the button. That was the challenge, right? So, I mean, like, the thing that happened after pressing the button, I don't think has much to do with nothing, right? But I think they still won the challenge, but we don't technically know because there's no voting screen. Like, it just kind of vote in the poll, so we don't really know. But I guess we're gonna find out because episode 3 is entitled "The Most Dreadful Day of 67's Horrible, Sad, Depressing Life," featuring star Noah 1. Go. Alright, that is episode 3 of ARTOS, and okay, yeah, that's fun. That's fun. I enjoy that. It's relatively simple still in the way that it operates, but like it's got itself some nice bit of just its own writing, right? Because I do think that while, of course, this type of show is going to naturally lend itself to just being very, very much so, like, reference galore, right? I do think that adding writing onto it can actually make it relatively nice, and this episode does that, right? It adds details and things to these characters that, are not necessarily all just because of the meme, right? So, like, it adds details to, the cornball with a sad backstory. It adds details to, how, like, 41, I guess, is, right? It adds details to the writing of other characters, like Dubai Chocolate, whose middle name is Jimerson or whatever, and they don't like it, right? Like, there's these things that are, like, being added onto it as a writing element to make an episode with gags in it. And I think it's relatively solid. I mean, overall, like, the actual gag portion of the episode, or the challenge portion, only really lasts about 1 minute, right? But again, it's a pretty solid minute. We get to see the things happen, and things happen quickly. Like, you can do a lot of stuff relatively quickly, right? And settle in on a vibe. And it does settle in this vibe pretty good as well, right? It has this kind of like, okay, let's go do this thing that's really hard. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, all right, sure. Okay, yeah, you can murder me. Right? And then they just end up doing that. So that's kind of interesting. That's fun, Like, I think this is pretty solid. In the elimination, apparently, I think Mr. Funk got eliminated, but they ended up using a win token because Mr. Funk has to K in the show. The cornball gets eliminated. As I said, they do the guy about their abusive family. And they weren't even in the episode 1 intro. Oh no! But it doesn't even matter because the other fellas are. Because 67 doesn't care, so they proceed to get eaten like everybody else. Oh yeah, by the way, a Broken Heart Lizard died, so they're super sad now. We'll see how long that lasts. I mean, to be fair, it's a Broken Heart. They're kind of supposed to be sad. They end up being cancelled. There's a QR code on screen. I'm not scanning it. I'm too afraid of this show to scan it. This is not a show I trust enough with my QR code scanner. I don't know what is gonna link. That's a rickroll, bro. You just know it. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling it's a rickroll, bro. So I don't trust it. I'm not doing it. Yet again, apparently 67 has a girlfriend. The girlfriend cheated on him with or found somebody way better, which is And then Wilted Rose and Dubai Chocolate go together to assassinate And I was like, okay, sure. And they proceed to do that. And then there we go. 41 proceeds to troll them again, be like, haha, I found an even better one. Like, found and they ended up being as you say, yeah, 67 is still the straw. Now, that's kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie. 6-7 go properly trolled there, but overall very enjoyable little 3 minutes here. we really got to see, you know, some original writing work that's not just based on throwing memes at a wall, right? Which I think is the best way to do a meme show anyways, right? Is to, of course, have the characters act like the meme and do memes in it, right? But you need to supplement that with some writing, and I think this show is doing that, supplementing that with some writing of its own while doing gags and settling in a vibe. So I think this is exactly what you would want something like this to be. Rather than just basically being object fool in disguise but 6'7", right? Like, this is actually something that feels different than other things. So, enjoyable. I hope that it continues going in that direction for future releases. I do hope that it keeps going like this. And overall, yeah, that is all. See you in the next section. Next up, we hop on over to Smiwey's channel because there is Limitless shorts. Now, technically I don't usually look at shorts because they're not numbered. However, this series entitled Limitless Shorts is numbered. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch it because why not? It's relatively short, right? It had an episode released 2 months ago, so it was in the backlog. It's one of the oldest episodes in the backlog. I think it's time to delve into it. But there's 3 episodes of it, all ranging around 1 minute. Limitless Shorts episode 1 is entitled Drop the Ball. Go. Alright, there we go. That's the first short. They're playing kickball, I guess, gumball and orange. And then orange is about to kick the ball really, really hard. Now, it turns out when you kick the ball really, really hard, it goes really, really far. And it ends up going so far that it ends up dropping off a mysterious cliff. And they don't know how to do this. Now, fetching the ball for some mysterious reason is not an option. I don't know what exactly is going on. But they end up having to resort to playing kickball with each other, I guess. So gumball ends up just like kicking orange around, and that is fun, I guess. So look, I mean, if they enjoy getting kicked around, I don't think they enjoy getting kicked around. I mean, that would feel really dizzying, you know. This whole thing about balls rolling, right? That, like, I'm gonna be for real. Wouldn't that like get you the hell dizzy, right? Like, imagine you're chilling. Imagine like you're in the POV of a football. Like, you're surely throwing up, you know, like, if you're being played in a match, you know, like, it's so much, like, it's over for you, you know, like, but, alright, then, look, if it works, it works, maybe one day, there's also a random note that you're chilling on a bench, so good stuff. I can hear an ambulance coming by, so let's go to episode 2. Who killed Smiwey? Oh, that's thematically fitting, okay, alright, they're coming to save Smiwey. Hello. Hello there. Alright, let's go. It's short number 2, and Smiwey is dead on the floor. Orange stumbles upon them, and they end up trying to go over to, I guess, save them. Which, by the way, Smiwey is the name of this because of course this takes place in, the Fast universe, right? But I feel like the character, they were not called that, right? Didn't they have like a different name? Like that's the Fast, like, you know, short for a sound. Like then, you're just called Smiwey. Okay, I mean, cool. Self-insert. I thought you were like Circle or something, but anyways, they have to save him. They end up wanting to do the strangely placed parkour at the edge of the world that leads to a police officer who's very nice, who's very friendly. I love them saying hello to each other. Hi, hello. That's cute. And it also, of course, is funny because it implies that you have to do the parkour to get to the police officer. What do you mean? You can talk from there. But all right. But then we end up dunking water on them, and they end up getting quite annoyed, being like, no, I was just sleeping, because when I sleep, my eyes turn to X's. I don't know, because I'm a pirate. Yar! And they're doing that. And then they go commit crimes, which is, you know, entertaining. So, alright then, good stuff. That's a short. It's interesting to see, the Short for a Sandwich characters in kind of their natural, in like their original habitat in a way, right? Because of course I'm used to like having watched the Short for a Sandwich Run It Back, right? Which is a remaster where the characters act a little bit different. So seeing them in like default mode is kind of interesting, to be honest. But alright, episode 3, the new one, is entitled Bad Hair Day. Go. Alright, that is episode 3. Now, hold on. Just a little bit of, like, a criticism here. In what universe should the credits to a short be longer than the short? The short is 40 seconds. And I'm pretty sure the outro is, like, 43. Like, come on. Like, you can do this in, like, half the time. Like, and get it to a 1 minute video and it was all. Like, what are we doing? But, anyways, the short is that Ice Cream ends up walking over to a new hair dye spot that we end up having Stress Ball do. And Stress Ball was making hair dye. Apparently, they mixed chocolate into it and ended up making some brown hair dye. Ice Cream goes over to their friends with the hair dye to see how it looks. They don't like it because it looks like a turd, because chocolate ice cream is not a thing that they invented back in the day. So, alright, then I guess, Rip, I actually think it looks pretty nice, to be honest. I think it, do I prefer it with the brown? Probably not, because it's like, it's less color, but no, but to be fair, so many characters in the show are pink. If I actually pay attention to it, that maybe having just the brown is better. I don't know. I don't really know. So again, there's like the color theory, right, of like the color balancing, right, that show casts tend to do. So I'm sure you can discuss it, and, you know, maybe when I actually watch the show that this is, you know, a supposed Sector 4, I could, you know, be better at, you know, actually, like, properly talking about it. I think this is Struggle for Limitless Power, which is a thing that exists. Does it exist? I don't actually know. It might exist. It might want to exist. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, stay tuned for something. But yeah, alright then. Alright then, I'll do that eventually. There we go, those are the Limitless shorts. What I think about them, they're pretty cute. They're very simple. They're very, very simple. They're not even really supposed to be, like, funny in the sense of, like, having an immediate, like of being super punch gag. Like, it's just kind of a situation that's amusing, right? And you can find it funny. Like, I found the second one quite funny. The first one was like, okay, yeah, that's the situation. And then this one's like, okay, yeah, that's funny. So overall, I mean, it's chill. It's relatively enjoyable. I got nothing to say against it, to be honest, you know. So good stuff, I guess. I don't know if more will ever be coming, but I'll watch them if they do. So, you know, that you at least know that. Okay, that's all. Next thing. Alright, next up we are going over to the Yourboitayy channel, because in the past weeks actually, a couple of episodes of Battle for Gooner Island released. As a reminder for what happened in episode 1, do I even remember? I think it was to, like, be cool, or no, I don't really remember. It was, I think, to climb a mountain or something. But Iron Mouse ended up getting eliminated, and I'm pretty sure we were rooting for Joe Barr to lose. Well, let's see what happens in episode 2, which is entitled Really, Ninja? Go. Alright, it's episode 2 of BFGI, I guess. And Joe Bartolosi keep winning. I don't even know what this guy does, but I have decided that I am gonna root for them in this show. Okay? Let's go. I was scared, you know. I was scared nearly getting eliminated. Ooh, you know, losing that battle against Len or whatever it was called, you know, it was a little bit difficult. And then the second one, you know, is with gun, but we got it though. We got through it. GG's boys. Woo. But anyways, no, I mean, like, look, I kind of have to add a little bit of a gimmick to the coverage of these episodes, because again, there's so, like, there is source material, of course, that it's, like, roughly based under, but I don't know any of it, you know. As I said in episode 1, I don't really recognize any of these people, which means that I'm definitively, you know, having to just kind of, like, spitball, right? If there's anything I will say though, is that at least there is a relatively solid semblance of like different types of voices going on, right? Like the voices are pretty different. They're they're varying quite a bit, which is nice considering, you know, sometimes one of the things that I debated being an issue in other things about Battle for Powers is the voices feeling the same. These voices, they do feel like, okay, well, like, they do feel like they're from the same voice actor, because they are, but they do have, like, different tonalities and things to them, so that's like, nice. I like that, right? And it's at least a bonus. The challenge here is kind of confusing. It's like, it's a bracket to the death, but there's 7 people, so one of them doesn't do it, so it's 6 people. So then the 3 people who lose, the person who took the longest to die goes straight to the loser's final, right? And then the other 2 play a losing thing, so that means that dying quickly for some reason gets you better results than dying slowly and fighting it out. But Joe Bartolozzi died the furthest away, so they only had 2 chances to lose. In the meantime, Skeeter whatever ended up having 3 because they died really fast, right? So, you know, the odds were stacked against us, right? So I'm glad that we got it done despite this very interesting bracket format. Yeah, there we go. Let's go. Joe Bartolozzi, keep winning. Let's see if we can survive another episode, because episode 3 of this very show is entitled "I Put New 4GS on the Jeep." Go. Boom! There we go. MVP of the challenge, Joe Bartolozzi Nation. Keep winning. Alright, okay, so the challenge is dodgeball. However, it's a little bit of a weird dodgeball, because as soon as one person gets out, the challenge just ends. And so we immediately need to stall it out by the fact that nobody throws a dodgeball for the first 40 seconds of the challenge. I just ended debating, but basically everybody's like, okay, we need to get Clavicular out for some reason. And Clavicular is like, nah, bro, I am good, and I get you brand deal, and I mog you guys, okay? And then the other fellas, they're kind of, brand deal, okay. And they have these ideas, right? And then eventually we end up having, and they're almost getting convinced. They were going to sign the brand deal, bro. They were going to sign the brand deal. But then eventually Joe Bartolozzi and Lord Ken, whatever it's called, ends up eventually deciding to team up themselves against the Vicar, because apparently, bro, it's racism. And they proceed to, and then Joe Bartolozzi throws the dodgeball and hits him, and therefore claims the most valuable player award of the challenge. So there we go. Joe Bartolozzi Nation. And yeah, overall that is an episode, but yet again all that I'm saying, it's super fast, right? But the characters, they do feel a degree of distinct. It's feeling pretty logical, it's feeling pretty chill, and yeah, I mean, we'll need to see how it's working. It's playing under, you know, kind of BFTOC format. It's kind of doing inverse BFTOC though, where like in this challenge, for example, right, it's the first to get out. Usually in BFTOC, every single way that they do a challenge in BFTOC is last to do blank. This is first to get out, right? Instead of being last to do a thing gets eliminated, it's first to not do a thing. Like the first to do a thing, or, you know, first to get hit ends up getting eliminated, right? Which makes these challenges probably a bit too fast. I'll probably maybe switch it, but do more challenges kind of like the bracket style, where like basically people need to be declared safe rather than people need to be declared out. That's kind of a recommendation, to not have episodes feel minuscule like this one kind of does. But overall, yeah, sure. Look, again, I can't really tell you about the interpretation of these characters. I'm just gonna assume they're fine. Alright, don't know what's next, but whatever it is, it'll be. Alright, next up we're going over to the FastBoy Productions channel, because the 2 weekly object show, or then renamed to the Around So 2 weekly object show, has had 4 new episodes, because it's been like 8 weeks since we last looked at it. Last time it was April Fool's. We ended up doing a math quiz, and Light won. So yay. Let's see what's next in episode 7, which is entitled The Unusual Episode. Go. Okay, that is episode 7, and things are happening. So the challenge is the last to leave the circle, but before they actually leave the circle, we end up having our grass patch say something, and we end up having Trophy's dad just get proper mad, like seethingly angry. You know, and they're out here going over and be like, oh no, you tried to talk? Well, I could kill you right now. And I don't know, apparently this is unsportsmanlike behavior or something, so they proceed to get eliminated. Shout out to, I guess, the animator here. The animator here does definitely have a pretty solid ceiling of animation quality. It's, I will admit, a little bit inconsistent, but they do a pretty good job. I mean, these shots of, you know, like getting zapped, like Trophy's dad ends up getting zapped, it's pretty solid, right? Like, that's actually quite nice. And the battle as well ends up being relatively well animated as our sort of snow globe ends up glitching out, right? The only thing I'd argue is that it's maybe a little bit too fast, both of those sections. You know, they could use a couple more impact frames, right? Rather than just kind of playing itself out in 2 seconds. But overall, the animator does a good job. I don't really know who it is. Galaxy's Random Videos, good job. I think that it was definitely one of the higher moments in terms of the 2 weekly object show, or task 2 was. Like in terms animationally speaking, so good job. All right, episode 8, which is apparently not season 1A, it's season 1B, I don't know, is entitled Complaints. So here we go. Okay, it's episode 8, and we're back in the Void location, and the contestants are starting to be a little bit more wonderful. Like, should we really be in the show? I mean, did you see what happened to Trophy's dad? This show's not, I don't know if you want to compete. I mean, like, it's kind of complicated. Again, to be fair, okay, I mean, it's kind of doing the II situation where technically it is the fault of the competition that a character got struck by lightning. However, is it the fault of the competition that the character got struck by lightning? I mean, I don't know. Did radio do the lightning? We don't actually know. It was fucking 2 pieces of lightning as well. That lightning was locked in. Yeah, like, something's going on with that. But, like, it's, I don't know. But anyways, Arzoga was a proper mad, being like, bro, you don't care. I know it was a joke, but you still should treat the people the way they treat you. I mean, like, okay, alright, then radio proceeds to eliminate Water Bottle. They end up getting them to leave. But you see, like, it's not like the challenge punishment is, the elimination punishment is not getting zapped twice by a fig, right? Which is why, like, you know, like, when Water Bottle gets eliminated, they just get to leave, right? But in this situation, it's a little bit different, right? Like, it's kind of, like, that's kind of the situation. Because, okay, well, what's going on? You know, like, was that a unintentional thing that happened, or is it? I don't know, because it seems like radio, you know, wants to be like, they don't know who they're dealing with. Ooh, they need a little reminder who they're dealing with. So, you know, I guess let's see, what are they dealing with? Episode 9A is entitled Insane. So here we go. Alright, it's episode 9A, and Snow One proceeds to go over there and go like, yo, I speak for all 4 of us, even though there's 5 of us, but we would like to quit the show. And radio goes like, really? Because I'm the one to blame for all the bad things happening. I help you out with the challenges you complain. You were getting tired, I ran out of space, and you don't fan me. This is all not our fault. You just complain and complain, alright? Look, yet again, I mean, it's all just dependent on, like, you know, because, like, obviously, you know, they're upset about the thing with Trophy's dad and stuff, right? And then, like, you know, one another thing in one of the past few episodes, but, like, it's definitely, like, you know, it's just dependent. Like, was that elimination radio cause it? Did radio cause lightning to fall on Trophy's dad and send it to the hospital, or did he not? Right? It's a degree of intentionality, right? Because it's such an unlikely event where it feels caused, but does radio have the power to cause it? Well, they are going insane, and as we see in one of the later frames, where they're going insane, that something's definitely happening. You know, they're like unleashing the radio wires or something. So, like, something, so they do seem to have, you know, some degree of powers going on, right? So, like, all right. I mean, we'll need to see. A battle's probably about to go down. The situation's about to go down. I don't really, again, I don't know who's, I don't know who's in the right here between the, whether the contestants or radio's in the right? Because the contestants, like, they're correct, probably. They're probably the ones in the right, but it is kind of weird to just assume that a lightning bolt was caused by radio, you know? But, alright then. Episode 9B is entitled Insane Still. Alright. Alright, that is episode 9B, and no, yeah, I actually like the situation quite a bit. I think this is a relatively interesting scenario that has been built, because the contestants are kind of 50-50 on this. Snow Globe and, I called Grass Patch, I don't remember what you are, to be 100% honest, maybe like a guacamole bowl or something. But like, you end up, they end up sort of on the side of, okay, we were complaining a lot, right? And I mean, they're just trying to host the show. But then someone was like, no, this fella's irresponsible, saying that he's doing all these things, has barely done anything, and he was barely even helping out Trophy's dad. And then Green Pillow's also against it, because they're still kind of traumatized by it, right? So there's like a proper 50-50 split within the cast about whose fault it is, right? And it creates it creates an interesting argument, right? It really does. Yeah, you know, interesting things are happening. The only thing that I feel a little bit unfortunate for here is that a radio just kind of snaps out of it. Like, the radio was out here popping wires. It felt like radio was about, I cannot let this stand. Like, I thought radio was about to fucking attack, you know, turn into a fucking, like, evil mode, or I don't know, like, if you're going insane, right? But you just end up, they end up just having a conversation, and then they just snap out of it. Like, okay, sure, you can quit, then I'm not insane anymore. And it's like, okay, I mean, I feel like there would have been I feel like there was a more entertaining way. You know, I feel like there would have been a more entertaining way to go about it, you know, do a fight scene or something, like, get them to kind of fight, like, you know, get them to wonder, like, oh, half of them want to make an apology and half of them don't, so then some of them have to, like, kind of apologize, so, right, so maybe there's, like, radio is gonna like flip-flop, right? So radio's like, oh, you're apologizing to me, but then the other person's like, no, you suck. And then like the end, there's kind of like this balancing act between like the half of the cast that wants to apologize and half the cast that doesn't want to apologize, and then getting radio to kind of like be in the middle of it, right? And then like, kind of like, you know, trying to weave radio out of in and out while they're attacking them. Like, there could have been some cool ass scenery actually going on, but we don't end up doing that. The radio just snaps out of it. Some people quit the show. And then the other people, which includes Snow Woman, which, by the way, for some reason is still in the show, by the way. I thought you didn't like it. I thought he deserved to die and you didn't quit the show, but the other people did? Okay, cool. So then we end up having the vote, which is apparently the final vote. I think the next episode is the last one. It's been over 2 weeks, so, I mean, we don't know. I have no idea when this episode is set to release. But overall, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see who's in it. I'd presume that, I don't know, Snow Globe gives me kind of like winner vibes, to be honest. Like, it does feel like no, not Snow Globe, like the I keep calling them Snow Globe. They're like I think Echo, right? Like flow echo, glow echo, like, yeah, but they look like a snow globe, okay? And like, I think you know what I'm referring to, right? You know, the flow echo thing. They give me winner vibes, but maybe it could be the Snow Woman, but I'm gonna say it's the flow echo that's gonna win. But I don't know. We need to see what the voters are feeling on this one. But yeah, that is the almost so 2 weekly object show for now. I think there's one more episode to go. Let's see who's gonna be the champion. Let's see in whenever it happens. Next thing. Alright, next up we are going to go over to the Percy Roblox channel because some more episodes of another normal battle release. Some people are arguing in the background. But As a reminder, what happened in episode 1, we needed to find a rock. It's very BFDI core, this aesthetic. And overall, yeah, the prize $5 million. We had to find the best rock. They find the best rock. It was a circular rock. And there we go. Notebook, Snow Globe, Toast, and Soda Can were up for elimination. Let's keep it moving, going into the next episode, which released throughout the past 2 months. Starting with another normal battle 2, which is entitled Red Ball. Go. Alright, that is episode 2 of another normal battle, and yeah, I mean, it's a very distinct feeling show, like, the way that this has been built to sort of really be BFDI emulation in nearly every category, but it's not, like, quite there. It gives it, like, it's not uncanny valley, but it's definitely, like, heavily distinct because of how much it tries to emulate BFDI. In terms of, like, the general format, like the way that, of course, the assets look, the way that the backgrounds look, the way that the thing is structured, the way that voice acting is done, especially, by the way. Voice acting is very, very much so inspired off of characters, and it's done well. I mean, the USB that sounds like Bubble really sounds like Bubble, bro. Like, it's all of this stuff is definitely there and interesting. And you know, I kind of like it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it's kind of weird, but it's simple and it works. I'd maybe make, like, the music a little bit quieter, but, like, yeah, it's just a little bit, like, easy to. It's very easy watch, right? It's easy watch. It's like, it's just simple. It's just a simple thing. FOP, Fate on a Plate, is the elimination area. Depending on how many votes, depending on, like, what ranking you get better or worse food, I guess. But you end up having the elimination. Where the eliminated contestant is Notebook. Do they deserve this? I don't know. To be honest, I don't remember episode 1. I watched it like 4 months ago. But either way, we also end up having Soda Can, who got the least votes, and therefore they get to spin the wheel. They spin the wheel, which gives them a win token. Now, apparently, a win token takes 1 of your votes and gives it to somebody else. Now, this is a very. They don't say a percentage; they say 1. You literally get to give 1 vote. Now, this is has the possibility of being, of course, a game changer or completely useless, depending on how many people actually vote in this show, to be honest. I mean, they got a pretty reasonable, about, like, 30 votes, I think, so far, out of this episode. That's a pretty good number, but, like, and it's still a number that, you know, you could reasonably see maybe 1 vote mattering, but, like, on average, if this show does get higher amounts of votes, right, if it gets up to 50 or something, then, like, it's gonna be pretty irrelevant. It's realistically never gonna actually matter to anything, changing 1 vote. So I'd probably change the win token to change a percentage of votes, so that at least, right, something can happen, and something can go down, because otherwise the win token is going to be useless 90% of the time. But anyway, Snow Globe is safe as well. And some recommended characters proceed to join. By the way, the TOC in this show is entitled the Rejected Room Container, or the RRC. And then we proceed to have 2 teams of 7 get made. Now, with the new recommended characters. Who are the recommended characters? Hold on, let me check. They are a USB, which we already talked about. They're a highlighter, a pentagon, a, like, lipstick, and then some other fellas, which I'm not 100% sure what they're supposed to be. But it's like circle and square, and then I think one of them is like a carpet, I think that's what you are. So yeah, they don't have T names. One of them is just T1, and then the other one's T2. So alright then. And the challenge is to get a red ball. There's red balls hidden everywhere. The first team to bring a red ball is safe. A challenge that makes more sense than the first episode. It's still reliant on just finding a thing in the environment. This show doesn't have budget cuts. It just has no budget to begin with. So, yeah, that's interesting. Pretty baseline challenge. It'll be interesting to see if the challenges get mildly more interesting. But, yeah, they proceed to try to take some, and they just end up having to find the ball eventually. The key card proceeds to find the ball that rolls over to them somehow to the power of wind. And then the other team manages to find one because Pentagon finds one. Pentagon is like a little small baby. And I like it. I don't know. There's a solid amount of movement. Like, it's very sort of... It's hard to really take it too seriously, the art style, because it's very meme right nowadays, right? Like the Omega BFTOC, it's taken as a meme. It's like object point or whatever. But like it's an art style that you can do, and it's definitely doing it, and it's doing a lot of the sort of things that you don't think about relatively solid. Like one of the things which I'm gonna say is very nice that this does from time to time is that it does from time to time change like I think the background depending on like where we are in the tufts of grass. That's absolutely something that I'll do. I don't even think it does it enough. It should really focus on getting this background to change. Whenever it's a different camera angle, get the background just be a different piece of grass. I don't know, like one's got to do that to keep it focused, right? But anyways, eventually I think Pentagon manages to find the red ball, to give the red ball over, and because the other team just fucking explodes with keycard, then everybody's up for elimination. Who's getting out? No idea. We're gonna need to find out in due time, because episode 3 is entitled Waving Water River. Alright then, here we go. Alright, that is episode 3 of Another Normal Battle, Waving Water River. And we begin ourselves here with, of course, a little bit of a game. Apparently, square and circle will go. Oh, sorry, not squares. They're called. What are you called? You're called gumball. Yeah, we get the names because we can actually see an intro this time. I got like half of them wrong. So there's not square and circle. One of them's called gumball. I don't know what the other one's called. It's the one I said was lipstick is actually sword, which I should have probably gotten. And then the one which I thought was a carpet is actually a post-it note. That is just bullshit. Look, this show's assets are not the most representative thing of their objects in the world. Just look at Snow Globe, right? But we end up having ourselves the host cube thing proceed to do some hosting. Now, you know, yet again, it's difficult. It's tough to talk about this one, dude. This show's a tough one because, like, it's so epically unoriginal that it actually crosses over back into being original, right? Because again, it's that BFDI emulation, but also no. Right, it's copying the homework but changing it so a little bit so the teacher doesn't notice. Right, because it's like, oh no, we're not going through the Gorky Canal, we're going through the Waving Water River. Haha. Yeah. And they are actually doing the challenges to a different degree, right? Which I will say is good. That's my favorite part, for sure. Is that while the core components are definitely being heavily inspired, the actual, like, proper thingy-mabobs of what the people are doing are different, because one of them orders a boat and flies, and then the other one is just building, like, a propeller boat, that like a propeller, like, plane that flies over that can also act as a boat, right? So they're doing that, which is kind of interesting. Toast ends up getting eliminated with nearly every vote. I don't know why. To be honest, I don't like what happened, because I remembered, okay, the episode 1 nobody was hella mean, yeah, sure, but like, I don't know what was, Toast didn't really do anything in this episode, in episode 2 to deserve it, but alright then, we end up having ourselves the intro. Yet again, it's an omega simple intro, but like, it's got that degree of, kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. That of usability, right? It's got a general cleanliness, despite the fact of it's like within the style that it's created, that keeps it, you know, relatively consistent to it at least, right? Which again makes it very watchable, right? Which is nice considering like what I was most critical of in the former Percy show, which is taken down. I don't quite remember the name of it. I'm sorry. Right, but with the former one, is that it was kind of tough to look at because it was a little messy. Right, it was messily drawn. Assets were kind of weird and random. Right, it was not super clean. But this is focused entirely on making a baseline that works. Just about. You might not like how it looks, but it works under it, right? which means that if you accept how it looks, which I do, it's very clean and it works, right? Which again is the most interesting part about it, right? And some aspects are very clean, like the way that keycard moves from time to time, it's solid. The way the mouse moves from time to time, it's solid. Like it's doing stuff pretty well. I really like how Pentagon breaks the styling guide. Because of being a little baby fella, right? Like it's like all of this stuff, like it works to a relative degree. The assets themselves, some of them are BFDI core, but like some of them are very different. Like I'm not even gonna lie, like this propeller plane, but like I've not personally seen it. It reminds me of a thing from freaking Bad Piggies. Like it's very interesting, but I've not personally seen that before, and it looks quite nice to be honest. And the way that they actually throw the fella off, I think it's pretty cool. Then they eventually crash down and everything, right? And like it's got the distinct, and the way that our speaker boss manages to have the turn from side to side, especially like at the beginning when like they crush the thing, and when they turn to the side angle you get to see them crushed. Like that, you get to see Gumball crushed. That's really nice. That's a good detail. I like that one a lot. Like all of these things, like yeah, like there's things here that are happening and I enjoy it. And I enjoyed them, you know. Like I don't know, it's maybe this is the guilty pleasure show where it's kind of like, yo, I mean, I get it, right? We get to see an advertisement though. This, like you see, this is taking the homework too much. You know, like this is okay. I get it. You did Yellowface did ads in BFDI. Do you need an ad? Do you really? Did you really need to do that, right? Like, there's certain elements of the BFDI format that I think you should try to stray away from, right? Because they're just doing it for the sake of doing it, right? So, like, that's kind of the thing. Like, I'm like, okay, I like it, to be mega honest, but it should really focus on, okay, it's built this style and foundation around BFDI. Let's, however, make the plot element entirely our own, right? I think that's what it should do. It should try to stray away from BFDI writing now that it has BFDI styling, right? I think that's what I think it should try to do. There are no episodes in terms of elimination. Chalk and Egg have pretty much not talked yet, or like said one line. So I'm gonna say Egg gets out, but I have no idea. Let's see, because voters in the show are a little bit random. We're gonna go to episode 4 of the show, which is entitled "To the Moon." Let's see, let's go, let's watch, let's hit it. Alright, that is episode 4 of Another Normal Battle. I'm sorry if you hear stuff in the background, people are being annoying. But, okay, yeah, this is kind of what I mean. It's a distinct concept being applied under the logic of how the show operates. Now, well, it's technically not an original challenge. I'm pretty sure we did challenge Get to the Moon in a BFB, like, post-split. Like we did some shenanigans on them. Okay, sure. Yes, we need to get someone down from the moon, or like someone up from Earth, right? Like, or like the inverse. So like, it's technically not, but like at least it's not a BFDI original thing, okay? Which is nice. However, the way that the proceedings of this challenge just about don't make a lot of sense, which is unfortunate. But we'll talk to that when we get to it. Because we end up having, okay, the classic challenge of, oh, I don't like the elimination. Okay, then I'm going to eliminate you without doing the ceremony. And that's, oh, no, I really like the ceremony. The eliminated contestant this time proceeds to be none other than Sword, I guess. I don't know. I guess they were a little bit too imposing. They dared to frown. This is non-live voters for this show. They're giving me they're also giving me a BFDI original vibes. If a character frown, that's too bad. You're not allowed to do that, right? So they proceed to just get kicked out of the universe of like the stratosphere. It's like, okay, then all right, cool. But yeah, the challenge ends up being to get you the best present. Just kidding, because actually the sledgehammer proceeds to kick down the fella, which was a gag at the beginning of the episode. This I really like, by the way. Yeah, the fact that the I don't know if I already said it, to be honest, I already forgot. But like the fact that the gag that happens at the beginning of the episode with the sledgehammer directly causes the challenge to happen later on is sort of continuity to the bits that happen beyond just alright, like them happening, which is nice. It's not that easy to write that, so I like that quite a bit. But yeah, Highlighter is on the moon. We need to go fetch Highlighter from the moon. So the challenge is to try to get Highlighter back by building a rocket. Now, So something interesting happens. The first team, Team 1, proceeds to go out, okay, we need to make a rocket. Well, we have a plane already, so we can fly that up. Well, the answer is no, apparently, because according to the nerds on that, alright, the key card, since it's daytime, the moon's surface is very hot, and the plane might melt due to the extreme temperature that it involves reaching the moon. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, does that make sense? Well, let's entertain that theory. If that is how that works, then well, I would obviously wonder, A, how is highlighter there if it's extreme, if it's a melting metal temperature, right? Surely then that's a little bit of a problem, right, to stand there. I mean, of course, the second thing is, how would any rocket get there then, right? But alright, they end up apparently trying to utilize the plane for other spare rocket parts. Alright, that's what they decide to do. However, they can't find it because Team 2 does not have any genius rocket builders on their team. They don't know how to do it. Last time they fucking ordered a boat and it didn't work, right? So they end up making their idea to give up. No, they don't end up giving up because they decide to steal the plane from the other team and use that, right? Which is relatively interesting. Now, somehow, Still Globe and Gumball just find a rocket. They just got a rocket. I don't... they just got a rocket, bro. Like, they couldn't find a plane, and then Gumball is like, we got a rocket. How did they get a rocket? Well, nobody knows, but they got a rocket, okay? And then they proceed to utilize that rocket, which is apparently a non-meltable rocket, and they proceed to do that. And they're roughly around even with the other team. The other team, which is, of course, utilizing the stolen boat. Now, for some reason, the soda can and the gum, everybody's absolutely freaking out. Everybody's freaking out that, oh my god, they're using our plane to get up. And it's like, wait a minute, why are you freaking out about this? Like, because this doesn't make sense. Because you're freaking out about this implies that there's a threat. But you've already gauged that utilizing the plane is impossible because it was going to melt away, right? So if utilizing the plane was going to melt you away, then the situation is kind of tough. Right? Because it's like, okay, then they're just gonna lose, right? According to your logic. But no, they're treating it as if it is a big threat to their game when it's not, right? Either way, they decide to utilize the max speed button, which for some reason they're hella panicking on it, just break the other boat, like the other plane in half. So it barely even works. They end up deciding that they need to save fuel, so they turn off the TV. I like that. It's, again, a completely unique gag that's not really like from anything else. So I like that. Then they proceed to go over to Highlighter. Highlighter proceeds to just fucking disappear. The aliens got him. I don't know. Highlighter was like, oh my god, thank you so much. We're gonna go back. Oh! And it's disappeared. No longer there anymore. Not doing it. Not doing any of that stuff. So I mean, okay then. I guess that is how that would go. I guess there's people in the back. Look, you're just gonna have to hear them. But yeah, like, so maybe the temperature was too warm, but it didn't melt technically, you know, Highlighter didn't melt, they just disappeared off the face of the earth, so they died anyway, so I guess that was still irrelevant. But the other fellas, I mean, I guess they better get away quickly, because they might fucking disappear as well, you know, like, this is not a normal place, but, we end up having themselves with the Team 2 yet again always being one full challenge behind pretty much in progress, end up going over in reverse and are definitely struggling. Who's getting out? I don't know. Potato. There is no logic under who gets out in this show. It seems to be the characters that are more relevant. Who's making the meanest facial expression? Post-it note is making the meanest facial expression in the voting screen. They seem unamused, and I think people don't like unamusement, so I'm gonna vote them out. But overall, I like this show. I like it actually quite a bit. I don't know. It's definitely kind of guilty pleasure. Where like I should probably be calling out more on just how much it tries to do BFTI formula. But I don't know. I kind of like it. Not that many shows try to do super classic BFTI formula, and this one tries it and it gets it done. You know, the challenges aren't the most creative in the world. I feel like there could be an attempt at trying to pull a little bit more creativity while keeping the style rather than doing very BFTI-esque challenges as well. and but in terms of how it's writing it to the style relatively well. The characters, I wish there was a little bit better division in how the characters were going, right? Because a character like Chalk, I still have no idea what the hell a character like Chalk is doing ever at all, right? So like all these things are definitely being hit, and so like some characters are getting way more screen time than another character. Like Keycard talks so much, you know, the characters on this team too basically don't talk, right? But like other than these like kind of criticisms and maybe audio balancing, right? Like even a character like Keycard here, the way that their microphone operates and stuff is a little bit weird. It's like kind of muffled. It's like kind of right, like something like that. Like it's kind of weird. And in some of the music is loud, so maybe audio balance it a little bit more. It depends on what we're editing in. But like even though there's a lot of like tiny technical faults, but the core idea is fine, and I kind of enjoy it. And it's like a guilty pleasure. And why not? Why not? Sure. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. I'm hyped. I'll watch more of this when it releases, which I don't know when it will release. Apparently, episode 5 releases on the 1st of July. So, we'll see if this is true, because the 1st of July is up and coming very soon. Well, we're going to find out. But for now, we're going to move on to the next thing, if there is any. We'll see. Next up, we are going to go over to the Battleforsupreme channel because there has been, a while ago, episode 1 of the Grandparents Visually Object Show again. Now, to get to the Grandparents Visually Object Show again, we have to watch the Grandparents Visually Object Show. It is a series that was fully concluded with 5 episodes. They're roughly about 30 seconds long, except for the first one, which is 3 minutes, or 3 minutes and 22 seconds. I have no idea what to expect. All I know is that we're going to watch it, starting with episode 1. They're all released every months ago, the ones of the original series. It's entitled Arriving. Go. Alright, that is episode 1 of the Grandparents Visually Object Show, and you know, I mean, that's a fun concept, right? The challenge for this episode, as we end up having our 5 contestants, which are Hail Bale, Snakes and Ladders, a Puzzle Piece, and Golf Club, and also a deck of cards, is just be on a car ride and not be bored. Don't be bored during a long car ride. And it seems as if the contestants are struggling with that, which makes sense, to be honest. But to be like Omega for real, I think it's enjoyable content. It's probably based off experience, you know. Here now, of course, they're not blessed with the one thing that makes the car rides entertaining, which is radio. Radio makes it hella entertaining. I mean, you get the radio random songs about to come in. You could be like, do I like this one? Do I not like this one? You know, like it's one of the greatest strategies there is. But so fellas end up doing some tactics here to try to stay around. Now, Golf Club is hella just cheating, by the way. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna get bored if you sleep. Does sleeping not count as being bored? Bro, it's so bored that they went to sleep, bro. And that doesn't count. That's nope, super entertained in the dream. No, that's not the car ride. Come on now. This is hacking. And the funny thing is, they come in, right? They sleep, they wake up, right? And they're chilling. And then they fucking go back to see, they close their eyes again. It's like, what? I get that this is a good strategy as well, but like it's not a strategy to escape boredom, bro. Okay, whatever. And then also the deck of cards threw so hard, bro. You were in an elite position. You were in the out of window position. You were able to look at the road. You could count the cars. You could play I Spy with my little eye. Hey Bale, like you could do all those things, and then you immediately got dropped back down. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. They are throwing. I am one who has experienced many a car ride. This is not the way. This is not the strat. The window seat is the most important position to be in if you want to be entertained. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I do find the actual movements themselves relatively smooth. But yeah, Golf Club wins. The other 4 do in fact proceed to lose. I do like the fact that however, there is like a very sort of how do I best say this? through line of like real time that's actually going throughout the episode, right? Like the fact that in a way like it's challenging me as well. Like I'm also being challenged. Am I bored? You know, am I bored? Like I'm living it in real time. You know, and I think that's kind of cool to be honest. But like, yeah, I mean, it do be the way that it be. But yeah, the other four are up for elimination. Who's getting that? I mean, Puzzle Piece is the one that lost first, so maybe them. But I would personally eliminate the deck of cards because they threw away an absolutely winning position. I mean, like they were in the position to be able to look out the window, and they're never gonna get bored. They were never ever gonna get bored, but they threw away that golden spot, and I can't respect that, so I'd eliminate them. But episode 2 is entitled Day of Adventure. Here we go. Alright, that's episode 2, and that's more like how I expected this show to go, right? It'd be kind of not necessarily object full style, but just kind of like mega fast show style, right? Like the daily stuff, like we're like, okay, the contestant who does it. The rest of them we don't really get to see them, and that's about it, right? But yeah, one vote was totally cast, and the vote was for deck of cards. Yes, I don't know who did it. I don't know who did the vote, but they understand the power of the window. They're also equally as disappointed as me. Let's go. WWW. And why am I saying a URL? And then having the challenge to go golfing. You know, Paper Puppets won't do it. And Snakes and Ladders proceeds to do it, and they successfully land a putt. So good job. They're safe. Everybody else didn't do it. We do gotta, of course, question the golf club for not winning the golfing challenge. I would probably eliminate them at this point. After this performance, because I mean they're a golf club and they didn't win the golf challenge. Now what the hell are we doing, bro? Right, so yeah, episode 3 is entitled Underwater Action. Go. Alright, it's episode 3, and we're finding out how this grandparents' visit is going. So apparently there was an aquarium visit, so this is a related challenge, because we are going over, and the challenge is to show a fish. Now, the elimination, by the way, the eliminated has to be Hay Bale, 3 votes this time, more than 1, but yeah, Hay Bale did in fact get eliminated with all of those votes, so I guess they don't like Hay Bale. And then, while the other fellas try to go fishing and literally catch a fish, the puzzle piece ends up getting the smarter idea of pulling up a fish on Google, and proceeding to do that. Well, actually, they don't pull it up on Google. They pull it on ocean.com, which, you know, I now have to check if that's a real website. Ocean.com. Okay, it redirects me to princess.com. Summer savings. Receive up to on your next cruise. Okay, cool. But yeah, they proceed to show the fish, and yep, that is in fact a functional way to do a challenge. We think that the other two are up for elimination. I mean, I guess Snakes and Ladders had the bad idea, so maybe them will get out, but I don't really know. Well, I guess we'll have to find out. In the next episode, what is it called? It's called Independence. Go. Alright, that is episode 4 of the Grandparents Basically Object Show. Now, there was a tie this time out of the 4 total votes, and it was a tie. So we end up having the challenge, which is to survive on the bull. They end up getting dropped down, and to be honest, Golf Club can't even really try to stay on the bull because they don't have the you know, like, balance to be able to stay on it, so they end up just bouncing in between them, which is unfortunate, which means that Snakes and Ladders and the puzzle piece are the last 2 remaining, and it's a vote to win here from here on out. In terms of who I want to win, I mean, both of these have been some of the least eventful characters. You know, like, they both dropped out of the card challenge very early. They didn't go golfing. The Snakes and Ladders basically didn't do anything but survive eliminations. At least the puzzle piece, I guess, showed off a little bit of intelligence in the ocean challenge, right, in the fish challenge, I guess, about, you know, using the ocean.com, even though they are the first about, right, like, they couldn't survive even, like, 5 seconds without being bored on a car ride, but I guess I would say that the puzzle piece deserves the win a little bit more, but I don't know if the Snakes and Ladders are, surviving this long. They might win, so let's say that I'm going to predict Snakes and Ladders to win, even though I want Puzzle Piece to win. Episode 5, the last one of the season, of course, is entitled Departure. Go. Oh, hell nah. Is that what I just saw? Did I just see that both of the late votes were for Puzzle Piece, and therefore they lose 2-0, but they would have tied it up with the vote casted on the posted the freaking finish time? That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Nah. I mean, the 2 votes outside of deadline and then 6 hours ago. I'm feeling kind of scammed. I'm not gonna lie on this one. I can't lie. But I did predict Snakes and Ladders to win, so I did get it correct. They end up getting a fresh cookie, so good job on getting the cookie. You know, Grandma's cookies are always the best. And yeah, there we go. Good job, Snakes and Ladders. You just end up being the very neutral option. Didn't really do much of anything, but that means that you never had a reason to be disliked, so you win. Good job. And yeah, that's all really for this one. We, I guess, should delve ourselves into the second season, the season that happened 3 weeks ago. Only had 1 episode, though, which implied that maybe it was a one-day visit. I don't know. The Grandparents Visibly Object Show Again, episode 1, was entitled, Whoa, are we back? Here we go. Alright, that is episode 1 of the Grandparents Visibly Object Show Again that I watched a little bit ago. Now, I like this in the same way that I actually liked the Grandparents Visibly Object Show episode 1 quite a bit, because it was like a bit of a meatier episode and it showcased the dynamics a little bit more. Say that was for here. It's quite a meaty episode 1. Now, of course, I am obviously noticing that there hasn't been an episode in 3 weeks, so I'm not exactly sure how this Grandparents Visibly is going. Like, because the last time it seemed to be a trip, so I just stayed there. I don't know about this, but either way, there is a new season, so we end up fetching some people back. Cards, hold on, it was Cards, Puzzle Piece, and then also Hay Bale is back. And in the meantime, from a random building that we just snatched, we fetched 3 other people. A letter tile, litter tray, and book. Now, out of these 2 contestants, 2 of them don't have eyes and therefore can't see, and the other one is Omega Shy, so doesn't really want to do much. So, it's not maybe the most, agile set of contestants, but, of course, we'll make do. The challenge ends up, teams end up getting formed because there's more people than last time. We end up having Cards not teaming anybody. Puzzle to Piece gets fucking bullied around. Doesn't want to team with Cards. For some reason, Hay Bale's team doesn't want her either, for some reason. So then she just ends up forcing herself to team with Book. In the meantime, the Letter Town, Litter Transit team with Hay Bale. Challenge is to give a cookie a high five. Hay Bale gives a high five, but then needs to get the other fellas to bring a high five. Puzzle P gives a high five, but needs to get Book to give a high five, which they're kind of shy. And then we proceed to go on a long-winded rant. Puzzle Piece, my former go, is now mega evil, and I'll be like, what are you doing? What do you think? I can't be here for 15 seconds, I don't like you, and I'm getting bullied around it. Okay, like, to be fair, they are getting, like, unreasonably, like, shunned upon, right? For not really, like, it's like, we've definitely pissed her off. She wasn't necessarily pissed already, but we definitely pissed her off. But, like, at the same time, I mean, like, come on. You're over-exaggerating. And then Cards basically go like, oh yeah, I should probably not get eliminated. So Cards proceeds to go over and try to do the challenge. Hay Bale kind of throws, to be honest, by not bringing both Letter Tile and Litter Tray, even though the Letter Tile was already in the Litter Tray, so you didn't need to do anything. You actively undid progress. But, so unfortunately, they're unable to do it. And then, as Book is going to do it, Cards manages to stretch their arm out just enough to be able to get this, to get the high five anyways. And Puzzle Piece is all mega mad. And Book feels bad about it. So that's kind of unfortunate. Love the transition to the voting screen, and I love the voting screen itself. Look at that Hay Bale. Like, I actually think that looks really nice. But I think it's over for Puzzle Piece. I'm not gonna lie. I think Puzzle Piece winning possibilities are extremely low on this situation. So I mean, I'm gonna predict them to get out, but I don't know when more episodes of this show are coming. So I don't know when we will find out. But I mean, I technically know when it is. It's not the next Grandparents visit, but when is the next Grandparents? I don't know. When is Battleforsupreme going to visit the Grandparents again? I do not have a schedule for this. But, yeah, overall it was a very nice episode. It gave some meat and bones. It actually introduced all the characters to a relatively solid degree as well, which is nice. And overall, yeah, it was just an enjoyable episode, which of course allows for the next couple of episodes to be a little bit more speedy, because okay, we did the introduction here. In the next episode, we can just do the challenge if we don't have much time, because of the way the concept works. You just need the first day to be very introductory, so that way the next days are solid. So yeah, I think it's doing. I think a good job is being done on the show to like give it substance and then sort of allow itself to coast downwards towards the finish as there's less and less time on the trip, right? So I think that makes sense. I like it. But yeah. Anyways, that is all for this one, for this section. So I think it's time to head ourselves into the outro, because there won't be anything else in this very video. See you there. Alright, and that is all for today's episode of Object Catch-Up. Technically shorter in terms of the overall runtime, but not shorter in terms of the amount of episodes actually taking a look at. Anyways, I was almost debating just keeping this like a 1 hour episode entirely for Object Madness, but no, I decided, okay, this is a solid opportunity to kind of get by that kind of pesky sort of a good just a couple of minute segment. I almost struggled to put into the other catch-ups because there's always long things that I would need to look at, and then it's like weird to fit in something mega small into it as well, because like, oh, how do you fit it in the puzzle pieces, right? But in this case, I thought it was a pretty good opportunity to just go do that. Take a look at everything that's mega small. Every creator that's like uploaded one quick thing, right? And then I was like, okay, I'll look at this one quick thing, pile them all together, and make like 1 hour or 2 hour section. Pair it up with Object Madness, which for as much as it's pretty cool show, it's not very long, right? For as much as it was a nice wave, it wasn't one of the longest shows ever made. So it didn't quite have the capability of filling up a mega long episode all by itself. So yeah, and of course the standards of episode length are pretty high right now because of the fact that there's less episodes. So hopefully I think this is fine. Next up would be, I think, a request episode. So you know, I guess you'll see some new shows finally joining the ecosystem for a bit, since it's been quite a while since new object show creators have actually joined the ecosystem. Technically Brybee joins the ecosystem right here today. However, it's you know, unlikely that they're going to release another object show, but in case that does happen, I will be here to cover it based on the, you know, the regular rules. But yeah, overall, that is everything for this episode of Catch Up. Hopefully I'll be able to put these out a little bit more. I think I want to start to like actually lock in a little bit more, but I don't know, I'll kind of see how much time I have. It always depends. I need to like get less distracted with side projects, and overall, yeah, that is that for this episode. We'll see you in the next one, which will hopefully be the next one. Yeah, good sentence. Woo! Alright, let's go. Bye!